We're live, as always, Tuesday night, 8 p.m., right here Eastern Time on the SLG Network, also on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe my channel. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Sports with Rich. Live every Tuesday. It is my protege, the young Robert the Wiz Rizzo, and a full 2 hours ahead, of course. As always, your comments in the cube. Questions, comments. Well, the fact of the week, trying to give away that bobblehead still. Aaron Judge, get the answer. They got it on the set last week, the crew, but they didn't get the bobblehead. Maybe you can. So like, comment, subscribe in the cube, as well as listen to us here every week on Spotify or on our podcast. And a lot to do. Of course, we're going to run down MLB. We're going to run down that Yankee fiasco. The Astros-Phillies headed to the World Series Friday. The NFL, week 7 going into 8, they'll have the picks, Rob, the Wiz, and Cal, and of course, Avery behind the scenes, not Calvin again. It's Avery. Avery's been doing a great job for us here on the SLG Network, Sports with Rich. And of course, fact of the week, as I said, nobody beats the Wiz, and much, much more. You know what it is. Hey, Wiz, good to see you again. How are you? Busy week. We're both tired, but we're here.
Oh, busy week as always. MLB postseason. It feels like it just started, and we're at the World Series on Friday. So much to talk about. Yankees, Astros. Wasn't the series anyone expected, honestly, 4-0, but that's the way baseball goes sometimes. But we'll get into it.
We'll get into it, as I just said. Also, my friends, don't forget, I'm at latinosports.com and newyorksportsday.com, among others, where I write out social media on the bottom. Ring786 Twitter for me, facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Wiz, where did they get you? Where did they read your great content, as always?
Follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994, Instagram, rrizzo4, Facebook, Robert Rizzo, and catch all my content on Latino Sports.
All right, so let's get to it. The World Series at the postseason, MLB postseason, and hopefully MLB will get good ratings with the Astros and Phillies that begins Friday in Houston. Those Houston Astros look like they're headed to a dynasty. If they win, well, let's see. This is their 4th trip to the series since 2017. They've been undefeated now in the postseason. They're going to run the gauntlet. They got 4 more to go. They are just a dynasty in the making to me. They got a little of everything, and they show that to the Yankees with that sweep in the Bronx. We'll talk about the Yankees and their issues ahead and what happened, what went wrong. Howie Carpenter will join us in a little while at the bottom of the hour. Well, let's take a look at another celebration in the Victorious Clubhouse and in the Bronx on Yankee Stadium turf. But this in the clubhouse, the visitors' room, the Astros celebrated it again. Here we go. Hey, I think the Yankees are getting a little tired, Wiz, of seeing opposing teams celebrating down the hall. The opposing clubhouse, Aaron Boone, Yankee manager, congratulated Dusty Baker down the hall when it was all over. Dusty Baker there last year didn't get the World Series trophy. He'll try it for the 2nd year in a row. Great job by him and Dusty Baker. The Astros deep all around. We'll go into that. At the plate, their starting lineup, their bench, their starters and their bullpen, they are deep. One of the deepest teams I've seen in baseball in my era. And they did this without Jose Altuve again. Only 3 hits in the 4-game sweep over the Yankees. He had no impact. A couple of others also in that lineup, but they are so well balanced. They make contact at the plate. And to me, as I will discuss later, they're the team. They've been the team from opening day till now, and they're going to be hard to beat. The Phillies are going to have a tough time.
They're definitely going to have a hard time because the Houston Astros have been that juggernaut all season. And now, as you said, 6 years in a row ALCS appearances, their 4th World Series appearance in that span. And they're such a good balanced team when you consider the lineup, the defense, the pitching, the bullpen. Just on the offense specifically, in the 4 games against the Yankees, they had 30 hits, 15 walks, and 6 home runs. They do it all on offense, hitting the ball, putting the ball in play, the long ball, and getting on base when it's needed. We even saw a sac bunt in Game 4 by Jeremy Pena in the 8th inning just to tack on another run.
They play baseball the way it should be played. They play baseball. They don't swing for the fences. They get the home run when it counts. We saw that with Jeremy Pena, their shortstop. The guy wasn't even drafted, but the Astros have built an international pool of talent that's going to make them this way for years to come. Pena took over for Carlos Correa, who was supposed to be in their long-term plan. But this kid, 25 years old, got the 18th inning home run against the Mariners, the ALCS MVP, and then he gets the game-time 3-run home run off Nestor Nasty Cortez. He is going to be tough to get out. The Phillies pitching, as good as it's been in this postseason, will have a very difficult time, not only with that lineup, with this young Jeremy Pena, who's become a budding and good superstar in the game.
No, definitely. He's one of the biggest upcoming superstars in the game, along with Julio Rodriguez. The postseason hero, Jeremy Pena. That's the new title for him. 25 years old, as you said. Another Dominican Republic superstar. It feels like every year we get a new one. And this year, he became the 5th rookie in MLB history to win the championship series MVP. So just like that, Yordan Alvarez, Bregman, Altuve, you name them, add along Jeremy Pena in that core.
And they're led by the manager, Dusty Baker, 72 years old, I believe. He's going to try now, get his first World Series title with the team. He's managed 3 others, couldn't get there last year. The Braves beat him out. But second year in a row, Dusty Baker takes his team to a World Series. And this guy, Alex Bregman, at third base, with a season of an OPS of 366, 38 doubles. That's key this season. He gets on base all the time, and the Yankee pitchers could not keep him off base.
No, the whole time. And he's one of the clutchest players in the league, especially when it comes to the postseason. The guy, go-ahead RBI single in the 7th, as you said. 333 average, 1 walk, a double, and a home run in the ALDS, and that same stat line in the ALCS. So look at that consistency. The identical stat line for both series. How is that even possible? But Alex Bregman, he makes it possible.
Well, you know what, Wiz? He's been a perennial all-star, Hall of Famer. I don't know. The postseason, though, he always comes up big for this team. And as I said, he's in that middle of that lineup at times. This team, he's one of those in that lineup. Every one of them makes contact and good contact, and that's hard to do. A pitching staff, and the Yankee pitching staff, let's face it, overall wasn't that bad. We're going to get to that in a moment. But it's hard to see this again. An image of Yankee Stadium going to be dark again. And you know what? It was sad to see Yankee fans booing their team. It was also sad to see in the Bronx that the Yankees, a team that was projected to go to the World Series again, they will not be there again for the 13th straight year. No World Series, even though they've had 30 straight winning seasons. We'll go into that with Howie Carpenter more in length. He had a great piece on NewYorkSportsDay.com posted today, as well as I did the other day after this was all over. But Yankee Stadium dark again, and a lot of questions. A lot of questions now in the postseason as it comes to the Yankees now in the offseason, rather, about this guy. This is going to be the talk of the baseball offseason. Once the World Series ends, free agency begins. Where does Aaron Judge go? Granted, MVP of the American League, granted great season. He carried this Yankee team. Obviously, it appears that way more now. But in the postseason, Judge just bombed out, could not do anything. Whether it was he was tired, but you could see he could not hit a slider. He could not hit a curve. He could not go after a sinker. And he was striking out on a fastball where he amassed his 62 home runs, American League single season home run record. He batted .063, 1 for 16, a walk and 4 strikeouts in the postseason. And that was not Aaron Judge like. Usually if he strikes out, he can get on base. He lost at the plate. That will not, I believe, hinder him from getting the contract that he does deserve. The question's going to be, will the Yankees be willing to pay him? That is going to be the talk. And if not the Yankees, who will get judged?
He's going to be the story of the offseason, as we saw throughout the whole season with the contract talks. Even though he said he's not talking about it, they made it a story throughout the season. And when it goes to Judge and the Yankee fans, I want to start off with Yankee fans should be ashamed of themselves for booing Aaron Judge throughout the postseason, especially on Saturday and Sunday night. He's the only reason they were there in that first place. And obviously he batted 139 in the series alone, 5 hits with 15 strikeouts. But the Astros, along with the Guardians, they took a regular season game plan by opponents and put it on the Yankees throughout the postseason. Focus on the outside corner on Judge and let the other batters in the lineup do the damage. And like we saw, there was no offense capable of doing it for the Yankees.
50 strikeouts in 4 games, that alone speaks for itself. And the Yankees just look horrible. And you wonder, how did they get 99 wins? We did see this Yankee team go off to that great start. And at one point, everybody's saying they were going to be all-time best team in baseball ever with this team, projected to win 116 games. But then we started to see some flaws as the months progressed. And then they went into that second half swoon. And the Rays and the Blue Jays gave them a run for the division lead that once was 15 and a half games. But the Yankees showed they have a lot of flaws. An old team, a team that doesn't make contact, doesn't play baseball the way it should be played, swinging for the fences too much possibly. That's what I think, and talking to scouts and baseball personnel over the last few days, swinging for the fences too hard and not going for that contact at the plate to get on base where you generate runs. And when they got runners on base, they couldn't drive them home.
No, not at all. The only shining light in that Yankees lineup was a little bit of Anthony Rizzo and Harrison Bader. And with Bader, we saw it. He was focused on contact hitting, putting the ball in play, and the home run ball comes throughout the season, throughout the postseason specifically with Bader. But when it comes to the Yankees, it was too much of the home run ball, as you said, and every Astros hitter capitalized on their mistakes. And when it comes to Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman, as we said, we heard the rumors already. They're both going to be back for next year. I saw that earlier this afternoon, and Yankee fans are.
Well, that's not official yet, but that's not official yet. However, I don't expect either one to go anywhere else. Cashman, GM job. Yankee fans have to stop this. Don Mattingly's not coming in, and neither is Derek Jeter to take over this team. Cashman, that's his job until he says, I don't want it no more. And let's face it, some of the moves he made were not the greatest. Some worked out. Look, Harrison Bader was in a great find for them in the Montgomery trade. Bader was a hitter in the postseason. Bader's a center fielder for the future. So you can't point all this on Brian Cashman, nor can you point this all. And I'm not defending Brian Cashman completely. I've told this to Yankee fans over the last few days more and more. You cannot blame Aaron Boone. The Yankees have a steep and deep analytical department, and that's taking over the game, and they go by analytics, and analytics go to Aaron Boone, and he has to follow what they say.
No,
so I don't blame Aaron Boone on this. I'll question some of his bullpen management, and especially with Trevino coming in or with Cole, whatever. Question some of that, but again, not totally his decision. Analytics is doing this, and I want Yankee fans and baseball fans to know that are not behind the scenes to see this. They are dictating and ruining the game, and that might have also contributed to this Yankees downfall. Atrocity.
No, I definitely agree. As we saw in June with the Angels, they put it on the manager. At the end of the day, the players have to put out and perform. The results come on the players. And with
look
the Yankees,
what happened to the Joe Torre years, the Yankee dynasties with Joe Torre. He had the players, and he had the pitching, and he had Mariano Rivera closing those games. You're not going to find that all the time. Come down worry once in a while. And Joe Torre was a good manager, and analytics didn't exist. Case closed. All right. Well, one thing, Blizz, not to cut you short, Yankee pitching was respectable. Once again, their ace, Gerrit Cole, came up big with a big contract.
Gerrit Cole came up big. The only issue I had, and it came down to Boone, was removing him in the 5th, but I understand it. Bases loaded, with one out, I believe, but 96 pitches. You're down 2-0 in the series. You know that's your season on the line. You got to go with Garrett Cole on the mound with the season on the line. And at the end of the day, they brought in Lou Trivino, their fourth best option out of the bullpen. I understand if you're bringing Loaisiga in, he proved to be the dominant guy, but putting Garrett Cole out of the game and putting Lou Trivino in, I didn't really agree with that one.
No, not many fans did. Not many Yankee fans did. I know that. I didn't agree with it. But as I just told you, Wiz, it could have been an analytical move. It might have not been Aaron Boone's decision. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure. I'm based on consensus of who I've talked to the past few days and just knowing how analytics is dictating this game. That's what I think. But these two teams, the Phillies and the Astros use analytics, so do the Phillies, but not as much. And let's look at those brackets again. And let's look at how it's all come to the end now. Starting Friday, best of 7 World Series. There's those Phillies, the 6th team to get in the National League, the wild card team again, going to the World Series with a chance to do what the Nationals did in 2019, the wild card and winning the whole damn thing. Goes to show you the wild card is a good thing for baseball. Those teams get momentum. And so you see it. Phillies, Astros are going to have a hard time containing Harper, Schreiber, and Hoskins, who've gone on fire in this postseason for the Phillies, a team with momentum.
Definitely a team with momentum, and they started their postseason run in September as they were riding on the cusp of the Brewers lacking with the wins. And that's what it is. The momentum builder throughout September builds for October. Phillies did it, upset the Cardinals, upset the Braves, and they beat San Diego in 5 games. And they did it on all assets, 307 on base percentage as a team. And this postseason, they're averaging 10-plus hits each game.
Was it the manager, Robbie Thompson, who could be manager of the year? 2-year contract he got yesterday. Congratulations to him, the former Yankee coach. June 3rd, the Phillies under Joe Girardi, 22-29. And they were lost. And though they finished 14 games behind the Mets in the division, it didn't matter. They're the wild card team. He is the first manager, Thompson, in Major League Baseball history that had a team 7 games under 500, taking them both seasons. So job well done. Was it Joe Girardi? Was it his fault the Phillies couldn't move it with all that talent? Or is it that guy, Rob Thompson? Well, they're in the World Series. That's what matters. That's what you play for.
Definitely, and it's a good debate, but when we were there in Philadelphia covering Phillies Mets for that doubleheader, we saw the buy-in from the Phillies players to the manager, and that's something we didn't see back in Queens when the Phillies were in town against the Mets, in May and April. It was a totally different team, and now you see it in the postseason. Great for Rob Thompson, and congratulations to him and the Phillies.
And their bullpen has come around a bit, much better than it's been with Alvarado and company, Sir Anthony, as they call him. And they've got the starting pitching, including one of the Nola brothers who faced off against his brother in the Phillies-Padres series. That was a great storyline, though. Aaron and Adam Nola. And they got Zach Wheeler as well. And Noah Syndergaard, 2 former Mets who were part of the 2015 Mets World Series team that didn't win it.
Yeah,
great storyline with the Nola brothers.
That was a great storyline. First brothers to face off pitcher and hitter in postseason history. And it's funny the way things go in baseball because Austin Nola only reached base in the whole series against his brother Aaron Nola. No other reach on base for walks, hits throughout the whole series. So just little things like that. That's what makes baseball so fun. I can't imagine going up against my brother in the postseason with my family watching. Oof.
Doesn't happen at all. Hardly happens at all. It happened there. And a Padres Phillies NLDS, and one brother got best of the other at least once or twice. And this guy's coming back to manage. You talk about managers. We're on that topic a little bit. Bruce Bochy, who led the Giants to 3 World Series appearances in this 2000 decade, and great Giants teams he had now. The new manager of the Texas Rangers. Congratulations to Bruce Bochy. Now, on the sidelines a few years, back in the game, the right guy to lead the Rangers, who are young and make a couple of moves, and maybe they'll be impact players again next year in the AL West.
Definitely. I'm a big fan of the move overall. Bruce Bochy, he's a winning manager, and he knows how to win with pitching, and that's where I feel like the Texas Rangers are moving to. They have John Gray. They drafted Jack Leiter, the son of Al Leiter. Kumar Rocker, they drafted. The Mets had him last year, and then we saw the debacle. And other than Martin Perez, that's a solid rotation. And we see the rumors here and there that they're going to be big swingers in the offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they land a big pitcher to pair with Bruce Bochy at the helm. And it could be a Jacob deGrom. It could be a Carlos Rodon. That's something we'll talk down the line. But where the Texas Rangers are right now, we saw where the Mariners were. They're spending money. The Astros are the Astros. You got to keep spending money to get good in that AL West. It's a gauntlet.
Texas Rangers said they will spend. Let's see how much. Maybe not as much in the New York market as the Yankees and Mets do, and the Yankees aren't spending like they used to. The Mets do, richest owner in the game. Dodgers always spend. Astros so, but the Rangers say they're going to be players. They're going to go after free agents to fill some voids, make the necessary trades. Bruce Bochy will be a part of that. And the Rangers, by the way, talking analytics, are not a team that goes all full 100% with analytics, which is, you know the Wizards, I tell it to everyone, ruining the game. So we want your questions, your comments in the cube about the baseball season winding down, the World Series. Who's your pick? I'll give mine later. So will the Wiz. I think you know what direction I'm going in just by listening to the first few minutes of this program tonight. Also, how did your team do? What will your team need to do to get to the postseason next October? It's either way going to be a very busy offseason in baseball. A lot of that action will come after the World Series when free agent signings begin in New York. The Mets are going to be a center of attention, as well as the Yankees with Aaron Judge, and a lot of other high-priority free agents that are on the market. Teams pick up one or two free agents can change the complexion of their franchise. But you remember that? I don't think you remember this. I don't even know if you were born. You brought this to my attention today, and I totally forgot about it, yet it's all over the place in my little museum. Game 6, Mets-Red Sox, World Series, 1986. That's the game. It happened today. We all remember. Bill Buckner, the ball gets by Buckner as the great Vince Scully, like Vince Scully said. Mookie Wilson gets to first base. The Mets have life. I covered that game, Wiz. Way back. I was a rookie in the business like you are today. I had the fortunate opportunity to cover that World Series at Shea Stadium in New York here and saw that play that lives on in baseball and Met minds forever.
I can't imagine that madhouse at Shea Stadium after the ball got through his legs. And for you to cover that, I feel like there's tens of 20s of stories just from that night. But give us one story from that night after the ball rolled through Buckner's legs. What did you see? How did the crowd feel?
That's what you just took the words out of my mouth, Wiz, like you always do. The crowd. I have been at Shea Stadium since I was a kid, and they're covering the World Series at Shea Stadium as a reporter. The press box shook. The Shea Stadium shook. It was that loud. That and I mean the stands shook. You could think that an earthquake hit Flushing, Queens. It was that loud. Shea Stadium has been loud. Citi Field's been loud, but never like that. That was, to me, in all the years as a kid and then as a reporter, journalist at Shea Stadium, that was the loudest, the most loudest crowd I've ever been involved with. To be the year. It shook. It shook. And the Mets, of course, we know what happened after that. That was a year of Met team you'll never forget. That the play, that the game of baseball and Met fans will never forget.
No, definitely not. Even when I was younger, back in 2014, I was able to get the chance to meet Bill Buckner and Mookie Wilson. I had a 15-minute chat with them. They talked about the play. They talked about their friendship after. And just to have that encounter with them before, obviously, we found out that Buckner passed, I believe, in 2019. Just to have that encounter with both of them, it's something I will never forget. And that's something that baseball history will be talking about every year.
Bill Buckner, for years, never got over it. Neither did Red Sox fans, as their World Series drought continued until 2004, when they overcame that 0-3 deficit of the Yankees. The Yankees couldn't do that, though, this week, unfortunately. They weren't as good as the Red Sox. That's why that team. But John McNamara was the manager. Bill Buckner was the culprit to Red Sox fans, and as I said, as of late, I mean they've forgiven him since then because they won a World Series since that time. But that was a play of a play, a World Series of a World Series. The Mets would go on to win their second World Championship, their last one, 1986. And Mookie Wilson, still around the Mets and an ambassador for the team. He's always asked that question. And I back then the transistor radio, even in the ballpark, I had to listen to the Mets radio call. Bob Murphy had it. Very similar to the late Vince Scully, because the late Bob Murphy was a Met original broadcaster. That anniversary today, Game 6, and I totally forgot it. Thanks, Wiz, for reminding me, because I lived that. I was there. I covered it, and I'll never forget it like a lot of brothers. All right, more baseball to come. Bottom of the hour, Howie Carter is going to give us his perspective of the Yankees, and also this upcoming World Series that begins best of 7 down out in Houston Friday night, and then you'll have 2 coming into 3 at Citizens Bank Park, 3, 4, and 5 next week. Interesting how MLB and the networks handle and how the ratings are going to be. But don't forget, Sports with Rich here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. live on the SLG Network, YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe on my channel. Our social media handles at the bottom being scrolled. And now it is that time of the week, before we get to the bottom of the hour. You know what it is. What is it, Wiz?
It's that time. It's the time for Fact of the Week.
Yeah, it is. The fact of the week that no one seems to get except you, and now Avery's joined the club getting the answer. And I want to see if any one of you out there can get it. Remember, it's not trivia, it's a fact. Get it, and you get an Aaron Judge bobblehead and maybe another one, another bobblehead or something else. Just leave your question or your comment, your answer at the bottom of the cube. So, Avery, come on in and let's see if we can take a crack at the first one, the shot at the fact of the week this week. And let's bring Avery in, our great producer behind the scenes. How are you, Avery? Good?
Doing good, Rich. Doing good.
How's everything in Wisconsin?
Cold.
It's getting there.
Oh,
and
we're not there yet in New York.
And we'll get to the football, but it doesn't seem like Wisconsin natives
No.
are in a bright mood right now.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, we'll talk Packers later. We'll talk and make you feel worse, Avery. Fact of the week. Here we go. All right, this deals with Clayton Kershaw. You know, Clayton Kershaw is a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. And we're in mid-November. The MLB postseason awards will be handed out. I don't think Kershaw's going to be Kershaw this time, be in the ring for the NL Cy Young. All right, but Kershaw, the subject of the fact of the week, the 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Now, a Cy Young Award winner like Kershaw, to break the Cy Young record of 511 wins. That's the record for a Cy Young Award winner. Who it is, what year, tell you, all right? How many years more, though, for an aging Kershaw would take him to get 511 wins? How old would he be? And how many years would it take for Kershaw to get 511 wins as a 3-time Cy Young Award winner? Try and get that one, guys. I told you it'd be tougher this week. Fact of the week.
That's a tough one. My first guess, I believe he's 37. I believe he's 37. All right, and he's been through the injuries. I'll give it till 42, so that's 5 years because I'm counting in the injuries. 5 years?
No. Sorry.
Do we
get a
know
shot
how many
at it?
wins he has?
It is. Yeah. You got to know how many wins he has. You got to look at his age and determine a Cy Young Award record for a pitcher. 511 wins.
I know I answered, but I don't think he has 300 yet. I may be wrong.
No.
Okay.
So you know that he may never get this record. But can you guys get the record? That's the question.
That's a tough one.
10 seconds before we go to break, because we're going to get Howie Carpenter in here. Think about it.
Mathematically, he'll probably be in 45.
It's 45, so what's that? 8 seasons?
8 years.
8 years?
Mathematically, probably
Well, you know what, Avery? I'm going to tell you you're close. You're not there, but you're close.
All right.
And that's pretty good. Pretty good.
We'll work our way.
So we got to find out now how many years and how old could he potentially be if he did it. All right. So you're close, Avery. All right.
All right.
Fact of the week. We'll get back to it later and come up with the answer. This is Sports with Rich. I'm Rich Mancuso. That's the Wiz, Robert Rizzo. And there's Avery, our great producer behind the scenes. Tuesday Night Live, 8 p.m. Eastern. Back with Howie Carpin and much more after this timeout.
Doing bad, they gon' love you. Yeah. Doing good, they gon' hate you. Yeah. Look down on your come up, but to the hustle, stay faithful. Big goals by the rate full. Drip everywhere, that's wasteful. Accent color, that's tasteful. We front and center at the tape. Got 3-5 in my blunt. Yeah. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough, yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that. Save me a gold casket. My life been tragic. Good gas and blunts pass. Blow out a nigga head gaskets. Fuck boys, don't need them. Yo, bitch crazy, better keep them. Yo, niggas high when it's time to ride, but I bet that bitch start squeezing. Smoke sessions in the evening. Private chef and we eat it. It's a long way from voyeur to 4 years in Lamborghinis. Move different, can't see me. Only pictures ain't on TV. Tribe meetings and vibe readings. He space race like E.T. We had roaches in the kitchen. Now it's rooms in the villa. Took the cards I was dealt, flipped them. I'm the one who do the dealing. Did so much of my own, baby, I don't give a fuck about feelings. Everybody got a lot to say, but ain't nobody came with it. Fuck it, I spin it. Had it, I lent it. Trusted some niggas, now I regret it. I can forgive it, never forget it. Niggas still out there, I ain't gon' get it. Yeah, this is it, I can't slow up. Niggas muddy from the pole up. Big sauce like a cold cut. You either hoe up or you can blow up. Got 3-5 in my blunt. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough. Yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that. Where the ghost mean power, you a star, Omari Hardwick. Seen a lot of hardships. We was taking long trips, talking through the glass. Gotta medicate with strong hits of ganja. Gotta watch how people move around you. My brother got sittings cause of snitch. Niggas dying over bitches. Niggas lie like it's religion. If you been dying, you feel me. Gotta keep applying pressure. Double up, that boy can stretch it. Good credit or no credit, they need it, go get it. Lil' baby, this is me. What you get is what you see. And you best believe we wore red. Got 3-5 in my blunt. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough. Yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that.
8:35 p.m. Eastern, back on live on the SLG Network, YouTube, all the social platforms here, media platforms. Rich Mancuso, Sports with Rich, with the Wiz, Robert Rizzo. Like, comment, and subscribe. SLG Network, Sports with Rich, as well as my channel, Rich Mancuso, on YouTube. And let's bring in a colleague of mine for almost 40 years now. And he is with SiriusXM Radio, as well as a great columnist for NewYorkSportsDay.com, where I also write. And Howie Carpin, let's bring you in, Howie. And we have a lot to talk about. Talk about the Yankees and talk about the World Series coming up. There he is, Howie. How are you? You recovered from the Yankee postseason already?
Yeah, I mean, it lasts a little while, and then the next day I'm okay, and looking forward to next season already.
Let's get right to it. Yeah, I think every Yankee fan is as well, Howie. You wrote a great column on NewYorkSportsDay.com today. I love the way you ended your column. The Astros have beaten the Yankees 4 times in 4 tries in the postseason. Will they ever be able to clear this formidable hurdle? And that's the question that everyone's been asking since the Yankees got swept. and also questions about where this Yankee team is headed. How do you look at this? There's so much to talk about of why they got swept. So much to talk about this team that won 99 games. So much to talk about what has to be done to improve this team, because obviously they can't do it.
Yeah, well, first you want to start with this sweep. As I wrote in the column, it was, the way the Yankees finished the season with more than a small sample size. Essentially, the Astros are playing a 500 team, and that gap certainly showed up in the postseason this year. The Astros have been able to reload. They lose a guy like Correa. This kid Pena steps in, third-round pick. They lose Springer. Okay, McCormick's not as good as Springer, but he fits what they're doing there because they still have Bregman and Altuve. They steal Yordan Alvarez from the Dodgers for Josh Fields, maybe turning into one of the underrated trades in history. So, they played it. Yeah, they're analytically inclined, but they don't, live and die by the analytics. They got a manager who's managing a lot by his gut. If you notice now, the trend is going back to the older managers since Snitker won the World Series, and Dusty was in the World Series as an older manager. Buck Showalter, now Bruce Bochy with Texas. So you see, maybe they're starting to get away from, falling into what I call the analytical quicksand. But the Yankees are at a crossroads right now. I mean, they thought they had a real good team going into the season. Honestly, I thought they were a marginal playoff team. I thought the bottom of their order was weak. Pitchers could attack that. It didn't happen in the early going because Trevino and Kiner-Falefa were overachieving offensively, so it masked any deficiencies that were due to show up later. Trevino's a nice catcher, not known for his bat, and he was invisible in the ALCS 0 for 11. Charles McCormick bats ninth for Houston. It's a big home run. So there's your big difference between the teams. And also I wrote in the column, to beat the Astros, you got to be left-handed. And the Phillies are going to have a little chance against Houston because of that.
Definitely.
Right. And now Wiz, let me just ask them this real quick. You pointed this out. Everything you just said and you wrote about today, you pointed out during the season, even when the Yankees were doing that record pace of wins and doing everything right, even though using the dependency on the home run ball, you said that there were flaws. You said that they were due for a swoon. Well, then they had that swoon. And they had the Rays and Blue Jays on their trail all of a sudden. And then it culminated in this. So credit to you for that. You kept pointing it out to me throughout the season up in the press box. And now this. So many questions that you bring up in your column about this team, so many things you just addressed, and so much more, including some of the things we're going to talk about now. Go ahead, Wiz.
Yeah, so I just want to start off. Great piece on New York Sports Day. Everyone watching, go read that piece. Awesome work. But you mentioned something no other writer wrote about, and that was the Christian Vasquez play to Harrison Bader and Aaron Judge, the miscommunication. And you saw it. I didn't catch it at the time. But Christian Vasquez ran out of the baseline on the fly ball. And with the Yankees, and you mentioned the rule change, he could have been called out on that. Go more in depth about that play and the ruling.
Well, I looked at it again, and he went in the infield. But, the umpires really didn't have a lot of, definitive. They could have said, he didn't go that far. And, he wasn't aware that the ball dropped. It's a tricky thing, but my point was, whether you believe they could have called him out or not, the manager has to be out there, questioning it to show your team you're kind of on top of things. And I don't get the sense that they really take advantage of the rule book. Like, a number of people I talked to in the press box about that I wasn't at the game that night, so I saw it on TV. But then the next night I talked it over with a couple of people in the box, and they were all saying, that could be, that's something that maybe he's got to go out there a little bit and argue it. They don't seem to take advantage. They don't seem to take advantage of certain little baseball things that winning teams do. Like, look at the Astros. They get that break, boom, they get 2 runs, Charles
yeah,
McCormick hits
it
a
opened
home
it
run.
up. Yeah.
You know, it's
Yep.
like they open the door and they knock it in, you know? I mean, because of their approach, they don't strike out as easily as this Yankee lineup. You know, people
They
call
make
this
contact
Yankee lineup
all the time.
formidable. It's not formidable.
No,
So-
it's not. The Astros make contact all the time. We saw that time and time again. The Yankees using 3 different lineups in the ALCS in 4 games. Goes to
Unheard
show you they're not
Mhm.
stable. It's ridiculous. And you could see the deficiencies. And again, I'm going to bring this up. Besides the point, this was embarrassing, pathetic. But I'm bringing it up again as I bring it up to you again. We bring up that word analytics. I do believe Yankees weren't that great playoff team there, but analytics ruins this team.
They don't use it in the right way. That's the problem. They don't balance it. They base too much of their decisions on it. Other teams are using it, you know, and balancing it out with good baseball sense. They don't seem to be doing those things. Like they shy away from certain players, like for the reason they shied away from Justin Verlander. They didn't think he'd last. Well, here he is 6-7 years later. He's still pitching, and he even had Tommy John surgery, and he's going to win the Cy Young again. So, you know, where my question is not that the analytics are ruining the team. What data are they using? Are they using the right analytics? Look, it's here to stay. It's not going to go away. And in a lot of ways, it does make sense. It helps you get an edge. But you got to manipulate it into your game plan the right way and not handcuff your manager, because your manager still has to make moves on the fly. And with all due respect to Boone, look, he's a good person. I think he's not a great manager. I don't think they play for him like other teams play for their guy. You know, like look at the Astros. They're probably playing for Dusty. Probably leaves them alone.
Yeah.
You know, knows how to handle a clubhouse. You know, for Boone, I don't get the sense the Yankees play for him. You know, and he's handcuffed in some of the things he really wants to do.
You
No,
question
definitely.
Brian Cashman. You question Cashman. You question some of his moves. Donaldson comes in here, strikes out all the time. And you know, look, Harrison Bader was a good pickup. He was their guy in the postseason. We saw 5 home runs, right? He's their center fielder of the future. They gave away Montgomery. You got a little bit of flack about that. Donaldson strikes out. Then they pick up Carpenter, who had his little run in his comeback and is injured, and that was it. And then you have Gleyber Torres, another guy who did absolutely nothing. And I always felt, we talked about it, I told this to the Wiz, Gio Urshela got traded for Donaldson. That was a part to get rid of Gary Sanchez. There's no doubt about that. But Urshela would have been a better fit at that team than Donaldson. I feel Urshela should have still been on this team.
All those names you mentioned, Cashman has to be given credit for bringing in Matt Carpenter and bringing in Bader. But the bottom line is that they needed to bring in those guys, which tells you they weren't built well to begin the season. They weren't constructed well. And then, you know, with Bader, they lucked out because, look, Jordan Montgomery, I was high on him in the early going, but after a while you watched him. He did the same thing over and over. 1 and 2 would become 3 and 2, and there'd be 8-9 pitches to each guy, and he's 83 in the 4th inning, and he slogs along. You know, he doesn't have any rhythm. You know, the fact that if Bader pans out, that could turn into one of the better trades for Cashman. But they've missed. Joel Sherman wrote about it today in the Post, and he was right on with the names. He was Greg Bird, Tyler Wade. Man, they're telling you they were going to be players. I knew Greg Bird had a long swing, and pitchers were going to eventually exploit that. You know, that's why he didn't do that great after a while. It wasn't just the injuries. Now, as far as
So it was like,
Torres goes, I was high when they got. I was high in that trade when it was made, and then he had the 38 home run year, you know, a couple of years ago. But now he's regressed. I mean, he thinks he's Robinson Cano. He catches the ball one-handed. You know, he was throwing those lazy lob throws to first with Rizzo at first. And I think somebody got in his ear because Rizzo has a bad back. And if you noticed, he was catching a lot of throws from the infielders without stepping out to the ball if they were sure outs, because his back, it takes a lot to stretch out with your back. I played first base. I know it. So Torres was lobbing these throws, that he had to stretch out for. I'm sure someone said something to him because he stopped doing it. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff. Come on, you got to be sharper than that. He's a better player than he shows. Swings for the fences, swings from the heels is like an understatement. The way he takes some swings, he just flies open and he has no chance to hit the ball. And it's a shame because he has an ability to go to right field. So don't forget, everyone's talking about Anthony Volpe, their top prospect, being a shortstop. Scouts are telling me he's not a shortstop. He's a second baseman. He doesn't have the arm.
I've heard that.
Arm, but he's a really, really good hitter. So would the Yankees gamble next year and go with Peraza and Volpe up the middle, 2 rookies? But hey, what else are you going to do? Who are you going to sign? You going to bring in Carlos Correa? I don't know.
Yeah, that was going to bring me to my next question. We saw the difference with the Astros and the Yankees, how they build up their roster. Jeremy Pena, he's making his pro debut back in April, and he's getting that 162 grind in the ebbs and flows. Meanwhile, the Yankees, they had Peraza and Cabrera called up late, and Peraza started game 2 of the ALCS.
There was no room for them. There was no room for them.
That's true.
They weren't in the – Pena was in the plans. They weren't in their plans. And the fact Oswaldo Cabrera wasn't even on their radar. Yeah. They brought him up and look what they got. They look like they got a player there. Now, he was overmatched in the playoffs. He reverted to his weakness in the playoffs because he faced some real good pitching and they had a little bit of a track record on him.
Exactly.
Basically, he got the experience. That's big.
They threw them as they say to the wolves. That's what they did.
No, they did not, Rich. They did not.
Why?
They did not. They did not throw them to the wolves. They were so what? Peraza only played in a couple of games, and Cabrera was just overmatched, and you had to roll the dice with him. Who are you going to play? Aaron Hicks?
Well,
Tim Locastro?
I know, but
that's part of what was wrong with the team.
Right, but which brings up, it's a good point you make, Howard. It brings up that perhaps Brian Cashman did not make the right moves at the deadline, so you wouldn't have to put these 2 rookies in there at this point.
Probably not, but who were they going to get? Were they going to get Juan Soto? Of course not.
No, we knew that, right?
Who else went at the deadline that would have suited their needs? When you think about it, I don't know offhand. I don't have the info in front of me.
No, there really was no. They didn't.
Right.
They did not.
The idea is right, Rich, but number 2, they didn't have the chips to make these trades.
No, they didn't want to give up their youth. In fact, that baby bombers are all gone except for Judge. But they didn't want to give up Volpe. They didn't want to give up Peraza. They didn't want to give up any of their young guys. In the meantime, this year, finally, Andujar was let go. A guy they had high hopes for and didn't get that chance consistently.
I'm going to tell you something. He's not that
Florio.
good.
What happened to Florio? Is that the same thing with Florio? What about Florio?
He's not that good. He has too many holes as a hitter. He'll never hit the breaking ball consistently. Okay. Florio, I don't know what they saw in him because I didn't see anything when he came up. Again, they're rolling the dice on Peraza and Volpe, but they've missed on the other guys. Are they going to hit on these guys? So that's the big question going into next year.
What happened to Aaron Judge, Howie? Why did Aaron Judge stink up the joint? Everyone's asking that.
I think he was burnt out from the home run.
Burnt out.
I think.
And where does he go?
In the home run chase.
Do the Yankees re-sign him and give him what he wants?
They almost have to. What are you going to do to replace him? They don't have any outfield prospects coming up.
You mean they would rather go? They think they would acquiesce and give him $400 million if that's what he wants?
I don't know. They may have to. Again, who are you going to replace him with? They haven't been that smart when it comes to these things lately. They made some mistakes. So let's say they lose Judge. What's their outfield? Bader, Cabrera, and Hoop. You play Stanton all the time there?
Yeah,
no.
That's a tough question. Yeah. That's a tough question, and the only outfielder out there is Brandon Nimmo, and that's a huge drop-off for Yankee fans.
And
obviously,
Yankees don't want to touch the Met guys. That's why that Edwin Diaz thing, I would be shocked if the Yankees even make a move on Diaz.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk.
That's just the start.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all it is.
definitely.
Rule
Cole
is
doesn't
to
want
sell
to touch the Yankee guys, and the Yankees don't want to get into it with the Met
No,
guys.
I say that too. I've said this to Wiz all the time. We've been talking about it, right? We talk about it, Wiz. That's not happening. There's not going to be a war for players.
No.
Mets Yankees. That's not happening. Even with Jacob deGrom. But briefly before we move on to this World Series and some hockey and NHL and NBA, Howie, with you, what has to be done to make this team better? What has to be done to get them where they belong, where they feel they belong?
It's going to take a couple of radical changes, like a trade of Torres as real bait. You better bring back something real good because he's still got value, even though we've soured on him here. He's young and he still has 2 years of control. So you better get something back good. You know, I'd like to see them take a shot at Ian Happ from the Cubs because he was available at the deadline and he's under control for one more year. I think they need another influx of guys who make contact and not strike out. DJ LeMahieu's loss was huge. He should be their third baseman. If somehow they can get somebody to take Donaldson off their hands and take some of the deal, pay some of it, you make the move. Same thing, Aaron Hicks. These guys are dead wood on their roster, and they're only taking up cap space.
I know.
So, it's tricky now. They're at a crossroads. They have to make some tough decisions, and they better make the right ones.
Howie Corbin, me and the Wiz, Robert Rizzo, Sports with Rich, SF, was it Mad Dog Radio on Cyrus? Is that who you with, Howie?
Serious. Mad Dog Sports Radio.
There it is. And you're also a great columnist for NewYorkSportsDay.com. And if I could mention it also, I don't know if I'm making a mistake here, but you are an official scorer for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, just
so you know the rule book.
Year.
There you go. Congratulations. You are a veteran at this and good at it. You know the rule book inside out. We're not covering the World Series again here in New York. I mean, I might go to Philly next week and watch the Phillies Astros in the middle of that series. But this is, to me, an intriguing, good World Series. It may not do good in the ratings, but Yankee fans are going to be rooting for the Phillies. Met fans are going to be rooting for the Astros. A crossword there. And I like the momentum the Phillies have, especially with Schwarber, Hoskins, Realmuto, and Harper with his 5 home runs and 10 runs in 11 games in this postseason. I like what the Phillies are doing. Their momentum, it's all come together as a wild card. And, of course, we know the Houston Astros have everything. Yordan Alvarez can hit home runs. They can pitch. They play baseball. Contact. 6 games, I think Astros win it. Let's get your outlook on this World Series, and Nelson from the Wiz. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Howie.
I got the Astros in 6. But the Phillies could extend this. I mean, they have the ingredients there to do it. One thing about Philadelphia, you got to remember, they've gotten to this point because they've overcome their flaws, something I've always talked about in the postseason. No postseason team is complete. There's always a flaw. And sometimes you have to overcome them. Washington did it in 2019. It was their bullpen. Their bullpen overachieved. So they won the World Series. I think Phillies have gone through the same, genesis. Their defense and their bullpen were questionable coming into the series. They played real good defense, and their bullpen has been effective. Now, if they don't revert back to that, they could make this a long series. If they do revert back to that, Houston's going to have an easy time of it. And the Astros have something going here that no one's really done since the wild card era, and that's sweep the postseason. They're 7-0. They got the first 2 in Houston. I think the Phillies really need game 1 to make this very interesting. Now,
exactly. And both teams are undefeated at home as well. At the point we have to look at as well.
Right. Now I mentioned that the way to beat the Astros is with lefties. So the Phillies have 2 dangerous left-hand hitters in Schwarber and Harper. I've always been a Harper guy. I wanted the Yankees to go after him when he was going to become a free agent. He wanted to come here. They went for Stanton because they thought they were cute and they had such a great trade. Nothing against Stanton. I have the utmost respect for Stanton. He's been a good Yankee. I think the fans have been unfair to him. This is a guy who was hit in the face and has come back and is still a dangerous hitter. He never steps out of the box, and he's been big in postseason, even more than Judge. That aside, I thought the Yankees should have went after Bryce Harper because Stanton was a right-handed hitter. They didn't address a weakness. They addressed a strength at that time, which was right-handed hitting. And how many years now they've been scrambling for a left-hand hitter? You know I've been saying it since 2017 that they lack left-hand hitting. So Bryce Harper would have looked nice in these pinstripes. I know he's had tough time in Philly a couple of years, but they've embraced him down there, and I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they embraced him so well before he went off like this. And now, all of a sudden, he was under the radar for a couple of years. All you heard was Trout and Ohtani. This guy's a great player. I mean, look what he's doing. He's the reason they're here. And if he continues to do that, you can ride a hot bat to an upset. Ask Roberto Clemente in 1971.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, who has the edge in pitching here? Obviously, it looks like the Astros, they're deep with their starters and their bullpen. Hey, but that Phillies rotation in the postseason, nothing to say bad about that as well. Zach Wheeler in particular.
Yeah, well, their starting rotations are similar, but the Astros have the edge in the pen because that was the Phillies' weakness. But Robertson gives them experience, and he's tough with the lead. So, but the Astros, they seem to answer anytime a team scores on them, and they're just playing with a lot of confidence, and they seem to be on a mission. And what's bad news for Philly is that Altuve and Alvarez haven't done a whole lot. And the more games you play, the more chances they're going to get to bust out. Remember in 82, Keith Hernandez had a terrible first 4 or 5 games, but the series went 7, and he was great in the 6th and 7th game, and they won. So, sometimes your team carries you, and then all of a sudden you wake up and return to form. So that's a little dangerous X factor there for Houston.
All right, so Howie, I have the Astros in 6. You have the Astros in 6. And where do you have them with?
I'm going to go Astros in 7. I expect it to be back and forth all series with high-class pitching on both sides. I think Wheeler, Nola will dominate. Same goes for Verlander and Valdez.
Well, if they go 7, Wiz, Major League Baseball is going to embrace you. They would love that. Latest time the World Series will ever conclude or start, by the way. The transition to other sports begins, and we're in the NBA and NHL season, the infancy stages. Howie, briefly, I know you cover both teams in New York and you cover both leagues well, including the NHL. Let's start with the Knicks. You're seeing a difference in the first few games of the season with this team, Barrett, Randall, and does Brunson make a difference with this Knicks team?
Yeah, I think you've already seen it. You saw it last night when they needed a big bucket and some leadership on the floor. Julius Randle now doesn't have to hog the ball and isolate himself for stupid plays, where he gets the ball stolen. They're more disciplined, and RJ Barrett is yet to get going. So he's going to be better as the season goes on. I think he's trying too hard. He may be trying to live up to the contract, which is dangerous. That could take you out of your season at times. So they're improved. They'll be interesting. I don't know how they're good in the East. I think they can make the playoffs maybe, that 9-10 game or whatever that is nowadays. But I think they'll be an interesting watch, and they'll be pesky for some of the better teams.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. They have the Bucks, Cavs, Hawks coming up next, but it's such a long season where I test it week by week. It's just the eye test. And right now they're scoring a lot of points, a lot of turnovers, and throughout the season that's going to get fixed. More practice, more communication, mishaps, we'll see it. And I think they'll be fine, but overall, I believe a 9th or 8th seed at best. What do you think?
Same. Right around that area, absolutely.
All right, and in the NHL, you're on the Ranger beat a lot, and my hockey knowledge right now, it's not even there. So you gotta apologize for that. Excuse me. It's baseball, and I got boxing and a lot of other stuff. But
I'll put you on ice.
Put me on. I am on ice. I'm on ice a lot. It's not just because of that. I'm aches and pains. How are the in New York, the Rangers are expected to go far again. And they're off to this good start. They're scoring goals. But you still got Tampa Bay in that division. The Tampa Bay in the East, they're still good. And, of course, now you got in the West, you got the Avalanche that won it all last year. What's your assessment of the Rangers this year? What are things to look forward to? They're already 2 weeks in, but What do you see?
Well, they've stumbled a little over the last few games. They got to realize that there's a target on their back now because they're one of the favorites. It's different playing as a favorite than when you're an underdog and you seem to sneak up on teams as they did last year. They're very talented. They have to stay healthy. They have the ingredients there to make a run. But again, teams are going to really be intense. That's a big game now for the opposition when they come in. So how are they going to handle that? I think it's going to take a little time to get adjusted. I don't know if they'll have as good a regular season as they had last year, but that doesn't matter if they're in the playoffs and they, if they can get to the Stanley Cup final. It's tough. It's so difficult when you get that far as like an unknown, and then to get in any sport, and then to get back that next year because they treat you different, the opposition. So that's the big test for the Rangers right now. And, maybe they have to make a deal to add some grit. Right now, they're maybe a little short on some physicality, but they're very talented. I mean, they have a very talented roster. I'm watching them for over, 58 years. And this is the most talent I've seen on their roster in a long, long time.
Howie, last year, I'll let you go with this, with the Rangers, it was the power play issue. Are they going to have that same issue this year?
Well, it wasn't really the power play. It was 5-on-5. They didn't score. That was their issue. They could score on the power play. But 5-on-5, they were weak. They were one of the bottom feeders for the playoff teams. So that's going to be a big deal. And then if they can continue with their special teams, with their power plays look very good this year. It's been very potent.
Yeah, well, last year they had a problem. If I'm not mistaken, once the baseball season ended, I caught on with them in the NHL a little more. If I'm not mistaken, they got off to a slow start with the power play last year. Then it picked up a lot where they were able to score. And that was why I asked you that question. And I don't want to look like a complete fool when you're on, because you're an encyclopedia. You're
not a fool. A lot of guys don't follow hockey.
I'm a fool sometimes, but I'm talking something that I'm really not as base knowledgeable about as you are. I could say that at my age. At my age, I can get away with that.
If I was in the boxing ring of words, I'd be in the same position.
No, you got good boxing knowledge. We've handled it. We've talked.
Not like you do.
Thank you very much. Because I keep it in the ring all the time.
Right.
But it's the baseball season's over, and I know that you miss it. We'll all miss it. It's not over yet, but it's over as far as New York,
Well, I like the World
and most
Series.
of the country.
I watch the World Series, no matter who's in it.
It's always. That's right. If you're a baseball fan, whether your team is not in there or not, you watch the World Series because that's where it is. Finals will stand, and you gotta watch it.
Plus, on Sirius,
if it doesn't end at 2 o'clock in the morning.
On Sirius, the host banters with me, so he's probably going to ask me stuff about the World Series. So I got to be ready. See if something controversial happens.
Where do they reach you, Howie? Howie Carpenter. Where does everyone reach you? Well,
I'm on Twitter at my name and nysportsday.com for the column. And they can hear me on Sirius XM a lot of times on Saturday night on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
I could only hear that when I'm in the car because I can't get that at home.
I know.
And when I do hear it, I smile because it's a longtime colleague of mine, almost 40 years now, who is as good as them all in this business. Believe me. Say that about a lot of people that come on the show and a lot of colleagues I know in this business. But when you've been in it at almost 40 years, like me and Howie Carpenter, I think that says something, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I think it does.
No,
absolutely.
And definitely, and to add to that, every time I see you at the ballpark, you're teaching me new things.
I appreciate it.
Stuff that other writers don't see, you're seeing, and I appreciate all the help you did for me this season. And I look forward to next season as well. And obviously, we're going to have you on the show throughout the off season.
I'm always looking to be a bad influence on young people.
You got to see what a bad influence I've been on him. Hey, Howie, thank you, my friend. Thanks for taking time. Go ahead. Keep it in the ring. We'll be in touch.
Yeah,
thank you, Howie.
Busy off season, so.
It is going to be, and we'll be in touch. Thank you, Howie.
Okay, nice.
Sports with Rich, Howie Carpenter, our guest. Great as always, Wiz. Great insights on the Yankees and their issues. A little NBA, a little NHL as well. Like I said, he's an encyclopedia. He's been around a long time. Knows his stuff.
Always teaching others, and that's the best part about him. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that he is. All right. Keep It in the Ring is up next. We'll have some boxing and, of course, the wrestling. We'll bring up Buddy and Ray, talk about WWE, AEW. This is Sports Rich live. SLG Network, YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take this brief break. Back after this.
Lock the door and keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweats, so scared. Someone get me out of here. They say you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
Top of the hour, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on the SLG Network. Sports with Rich, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Rick Cuso, that's the Wiz, Robert Rizzo. Like, comment, and subscribe, as they always say, on the SLG Network, Sports with Rich, and my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. We've reached that point, Sports with Rich, and Keep It in the Ring, as we do every week. How about it, Wiz? Don't forget, our social media handles are at the bottom of the screen. Ring786 at Twitter, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. And, of course, Wiz, where do they reach you?
Follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994, Instagram, RRizzo4, Facebook, Robert Rizzo, and catch all my content on Latino Sports.
All right, Wiz, let's get to Keep It in the Ring as we do every week right now. And let's start with the boxing talk and talk about a fight that's not going to happen this year, maybe next. It's officially not going to happen this year. Maybe you're next at some point, hopefully. Crawford Spence to unify at 147-pound division. Well, here's the deal. Crawford is signed to fight December 10th, pay-per-view on another network. It's called the Advent CN Network. I believe it's called it's at in the arena in Omaha where he's from. And it's Advent C Network or something like that. It's in Omaha. He's fighting that guy, David Abelkayan, and Crawford obviously should win this fight, which will set it up. What is holding this fight back, Crawford and Spence? Give me a guess, Wiz.
I'm just going to use my hands. All the money.
It is the money. The purse split's been set. The TV money, the guarantee of a rematch, all of that. They felt they didn't have enough time to get this done. The promotional stuff, all that, weeks to come. So, no Crawford Spence, which should have been the fight of the year anticipated, talked about for weeks, for months. Next year, they say for sure, either Showtime or Fox pay-per-view gets involved with it. Crawford's no longer with Top Rank, so ESPN's out of the picture. Let's see where this goes. In the meantime, who is the best at 147? We'll just have to wait. But this guy, Eddie Hearn, over in the UK, has got some issues. It's not his issue. He's filing lawsuits. He filed this lawsuit, as you know, against, Jake Paul. Jake Paul, defamation of character, saying that Eddie Hearn was paying off judges in fights. Again, this has to be about money, but Eddie Hearn's not going to stand for it. So there's over $100 million lawsuit on file in New York State District, in the district court. And now the referee, the judge, Glenn Feldman, who Paul says that Eddie Hearn hand appoints himself to possibly set up wins for fights. This is bitterness because Paul's not with Eddie Hearn. That's why. So Eddie Hearn and Glenn Feldman, the judge, are suing Jake Paul, who's fighting on pay-per-view this weekend against Anderson Silva on Showtime pay-per-view, which is a waste. I won't buy that. I don't know why anybody would.
No, a big waste and a big waste of time with everything going on. You mentioned it, I believe, 2 or 3 shows ago about the Paul fiasco with Eddie Hearn, and it's just such unnecessary stuff going on where – and it feels like this is planned, honestly, with the Paul brothers because they're in the news every week with something new. And as the fight's leading up to it, here we go again with another case.
Well, I'm not worried about a black guy for the sport of boxing on this. Jake Paul brings in numbers, makes a lot of money. He's helped Amanda Serrano in his stable as a top female fighter in the world. However, Jake Paul can't be considered his brother Logan's with WWE. Going to wrestle Roman Reigns. We're going to talk about that in a moment again. But Jake Paul, to me, I could never take seriously as a pro fighter. It's a cruiserweight. And now we're going to get him on Saturday on pay-per-view, which I won't watch, against Anderson Silva, who you know better than I do, because I'm not a UFC guy.
No, definitely. And it's weird seeing these UFC guys box every time. It's just so awkward seeing them go at it. I believe Tyron Woodley did it a few months back, multiple times, and no one looks fresh in that ring. Let me tell you, we were talking about it off air with Nick Young doing it. All these celebrity boxers trying to get in the ring, it's not good for the sport, and it's not entertaining.
No,
guys fall out of the ring. It's a meme.
To me, it's a joke. It's a farce, and that's why if you're going to spend $72 on this pay-per-view on Saturday, well, good luck to you, because I won't. Well, anyway, but there's serious boxing. Even though this is the boxing season, I'm a little surprised we're not getting major fights. A lot of that happened during the summer. So we're being lack deprived a little bit, as they say. However, this Saturday, ESPN Plus, the streaming service, Madison Square Garden, Hulu Theater, Lomachenko back in the ring against Jermaine Ortiz. 12 rounds. Lomachenko wins. Now he's in that title picture again for the lightweight title that he once had, that he lost to Teofimo Lopez. But Lomachenko back on Saturday at the Hulu Theater, Madison Square Garden. He'll win this fight. Jermaine Ortiz, I know him well. He's from nearby up in New Haven, Connecticut. However, Lomachenko, despite his layoff, he is still to be reckoned with in the lightweight division, one of the top ones in the sport.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the top fighters in the sport, in their division specifically. And I'm interested to see how this fight goes. Being on ESPN Plus, I want to see how the ratings are going against college football and all the other stuff. But definitely going to be an action-packed fight.
Boxing we'll look forward to also in 2 weeks on the Zone, because Demetrius Bivol and Zulo Ramirez will fight it out for the light heavyweight title, his title, Bivol. That's in 2 weeks on the Zone. That's a major fight. There's really nothing big coming up with big names, which surprised me this forward in the sport. There was a big UFC fight on Saturday. I know you tuned in. Oh no, you were at the ballpark, because you couldn't tune in. Correction.
I was tuned in on Twitter here and there.
Yeah, because you're a UFC guy. Was it Islam? Help me with the names.
Makhachev.
He submitted.
I might be wrong too. But.
Charles Oliveira. He won by submission, and so he gained the lightweight title again in the UFC.
Yep, that's a big title and a big win. He's 23-1 on his career. He got a submission in the second round against Charles Oliveira, and that fight had a lot of anticipation leading up to it with the press conference and everything going on. And can we see that photo one more time? Khabib, one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, carrying him on his shoulders, the winner. And they've been friends for a long time, dating back to their young UFC careers. And ever since Khabib retired, he's been taking Islam Makhachev as his training partner and helping him along the way, hoping he'll be the next champion in UFC.
Is Islam a striker? Is he a striker? I like strikers in the UFC.
He does a little bit of everything. He got Charles Oliveira to submit, but he has that knockout power, and within one round, it can change just the momentum like that, especially with how he lines up with the height and the weight. And it goes with boxing as well, with the length. The length is so significant in UFC, and he has that.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're a UFC guy. I'm not. You're the ultimate fighter connoisseur, UFC. that AKA parentheses the Wiz. Anyway, thanks, Wiz, for filling us in. Now, Keep It in the Ring continues. My favorite part of the program as well. Except for Nobody Beat the Wiz, that will be coming up soon. Let's bring in our buddy Ray. Is he there? Waiting patiently. Missed him last week. and Ray here on the SLG Network with Off the Ropes, right? 8 p.m. on the SLG Network, Ray?
Yes, sir. Off the top rope. We have changed
off
our
the
days
top
to
rope.
Friday.
Friday nights, 8 p.m. live here on the SLG Network. It's all about pro wrestling. Most of it is. And we have a lot to catch up on here. Ray, let me right away bring in this about Bray Wyatt. Briefly, in his sixth. Who are the 6 guys? I'm hearing Rotunda may be one of them, his brother, his younger brother. I'm hearing Liv Morgan may be another. And you could see that happening for sure. You could tell by her new look a little bit. What are you hearing about Wyatt's 6?
So there's so little to go on right now. We're not even sure if the Wyatt 6 is actually going to be a faction, or there's a multiple degrees of how this can go. It can be an actual faction. If you listen to Bray's promos when he does them, he talks about fighting his inner demons. The Wyatt 6 could be those inner demons. And then the third part, meaning like him himself, like he's always fighting, one demon or another. And then the other part is that the Wyatt 6 can be a faction with the physical manifestations of these demons. And the way
it's fascinating the way they're doing it. It's fascinating, Wiz. I don't know if you've watched it. It's fascinating.
I've been here and
how
there with it.
Triple H has created something here with suspense every week leading up to this. Where you had to go on the cube and you know how they do with technology, get the hints, and now he appears and Wyatt's back and talking about the demons. He's SmackDown property on Friday nights as well.
Yes, he is.
All right. Anything else about Wyatt that we should know?
It has been brought to my attention. It is at this point purely speculative, but there weren't a whole lot of advertisements for Bray Wyatt this Friday on SmackDown.
No.
However, this Friday on SmackDown, I do believe Roman Reigns is going to be making an appearance. So it kind of feeds the idea that Bray is going to be SmackDown's top babyface, and they kind of want to keep him away from Roman. Right, but for right now, keep him, yes.
Okay. All right, you clarified something for me that I've been trying to understand. Good job, Ray.
Yeah,
Let's look at Crown Jewel coming up in 2 weeks, November 5th, Saudi Arabia. Lesnar and Lashley. This has my interest. Two UFC guys finally in the ring.
Yes. And this is something that the fans have wanted for many years. So for it to actually be happening and be happening under Triple H's reign as head of creative, it puts another notch, another feather in his cap, if you will, because that when you appease the fans and you get the fans on your side, it's very difficult to turn them sour. And Triple H is definitely doing that with his continuity, his storylines, and, to quote Excalibur from AEW, giving the people what they want.
But last night, Ray, Monday Night Raw wasn't as good since Triple H took over, except at the ending when Nikki Cross got involved. No more superhero. New look with her. Look, meaner. And then she goes after Bailey, and then she goes after Sasha. What's the meaning behind that?
So, Nikki, we saw the possible sprinkling of a gimmick change with Nikki during her last loss on Raw, where she rips the mask off and she sits in the corner and she kind of has a small breakdown. You can tell that she's frustrated. They took her off TV for a little bit. She comes back as her old NXT persona, Nikki Cross, who she was a mean character. It was a good gimmick, good character. She was one of the few females that can pull off working in that gray area, neither face nor heel.
So I hope that's what we got. she was playing that superhero, and she wore a mask and a cape, and it dragged and went on, going nowhere. So I'm glad to see that she's back to being Nikki Cross and
Yes,
vying for
absolutely.
something more important. Let's go to AEW right now, because
Okay.
the talk about CM Punk and AEW, Tony Khan and Punk coming to some type of settlement, it appears that Punk had been talked about going back to WWE, which I don't see happening unless Triple H really wants him that bad. But he's still got a contract with AEW. Did they resolve their differences and the altercations and all the problems? Is CM Punk going to be back on AEW TV?
That is the $1 million question. There
Mm.
is a whole lot of speculation going on of what is going to happen with concerning the future of CM Punk and AEW. The strongest information that we have right now is that they could be nearing the possibility, again, could be and possibility of a buyout of CM Punk's contract. Supposedly the only hang up right now is the non-compete clause.
The non-compete clause, right? I don't think Tony Khan is going to let that happen, because you see Tony Khan and AEW right now more and more. There's this war going on quietly with the WWE. Everybody thinks
It's not
they're going
quiet.
to work together. That's quiet among where a lot of things are not coming out that we could hear, but we do know
Okay.
that there is a war going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Ray, they talk about Punk being a part of the picture, but it's not. November 19th, they're leading up to their next pay-per-view in Newark at the Prudential Center, and it's Full Gear, right?
Yes.
Where do you see this before I let you go? Wardlow, who I love, okay? Moxley, the champion. Jericho, who's the Ring of Honor champion. And Bryan Danielson. And then there's the Joker, MJF, who seems to be now a babyface more than a heel. Where does this go?
I expect MJF to walk out of Full Gear as the new AEW champion. I've said it right along that Moxley is a transitional champion ever since they brought MJF back. He makes the most sense, because you wouldn't want Punk, if the whole brawl out didn't happen, you wouldn't want Punk to have another short title reign, right?
Right.
So put it on Moxley, and then let MJF beat Moxley, and maybe if Punk does come back, you revisit the MJF Punk storyline. Until then, because he's still got if he does stay with AEW, he's still got about 8 months worth of rehab from his injury. And then while you're waiting for Punk, you have these secondary feuds with MJF that can go so many places. You can have him go with anybody from Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, you know what, Ray? That's so true. And you know what? You'd be a good guy behind the scenes. You know what the fans want. By the way, could you ever match up me and the Wiz together in the ring?
Could I ever match you up in the ring?
Yeah, with the Wiz.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
We can make
Can you
it happen.
manage me? Think you manage
Absolutely.
me?
Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll talk about it, okay?
No,
We'll
nice,
talk about it.
Hell in a Cell.
Oh, he's going for the big payday right off the bat.
I
like
know,
it.
but you don't want to put me in a Hell in a Cell. That you don't want to let me and Kuso loose. Not today, not tomorrow. You don't want.
Listen, I was told when I was younger a very a saying, and it holds true to this day. Be wary of the man who is the oldest in a profession that consists of the youngest.
Ooh, how true.
There you go. That's a good one.
Hey, Ray, where did they reach you? And again, you're on the SLG network. Tell us.
I am on the SLG Networks Mondays at 8 p.m. with the BJD podcast. Myself and fellow co-host Kevin Wilson host that. That is a variety type podcast. We pretty much talk about everything under the sun, from sports to current events. Then you can obviously catch me here Tuesdays doing Keep It in the Ring with you guys, which is fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then Fridays, we have moved off the top rope from Mondays to Fridays, and it allows us to do a live reaction to SmackDown that's airing while we're airing as well. So we run concurrently.
Watch along, which we might do next week for the World Series. We'll see where that goes on the network. Ray, good having you as always. Great info as always. Great contact. I appreciate it. Keep it in the ring. Have a good week.
You too. Have a good one, guys.
Great content again from Ray Wiz. He is a wrestling guru more than me now. Got to say it.
I got to get my expertise. I got to get my expertise up because every time you two start going, it's so much going on. AEW, WWE, and the storyline on storyline.
Well, I've been involved in wrestling all my life. Since a kid, everyone knows the story. Just check things on YouTube, my channel, everywhere. People know that's why I'm keeping it in the ring. That's where it all started. WFAN Radio, New York, all the time. All right. Coming up to our next brief break, and when we come back on Sports with Rich here, live on the SLG Network, Tuesday night, we'll do NFL. We'll recap briefly Week 7 as we go into Week 8. Then Avery and the Wiz, we'll get their picks. I'm going to stay on the side with that this week because all I do is lose. You don't want to hear my picks. They never come out. You don't want me. You want them. Questions and comments in the – oh, yeah.
Vegas is always the winner at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Questions and comments in the queue. We're live on the SLG Network. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Rich Mancuso, Sports with Rich. That's it was Robert Rizzo back at this brief. Oh, I need a timeout. Timeout. Be back. Go ahead.
Money like
Avery, take it to a break.
I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo while dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been gone. Rich is stacking to the ceiling. I'm dick long. Can never change the side I've been on. In 100 years, I'ma still be with my day ones. When it's said and done, fuck where I'm going, it's all about where I came from. You don't know.
What's good, everybody? My name is Caleb from the Bayou City Boys over here on the SLG Network. Happy to announce that we are now working with Dano's Seasoning. So if you're anything like me, you meal prep all the time, Dano's is the way to go, man. They got multiple flavors. Hit them up. Be sure to use our code SLG Network. Appreciate every single one of y'all. Peace.
Spending money like it's nothing. I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo while dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been gone.
I'm okay, Wiz. Don't worry. I'm all right.
You're all good. We all needed the timeout, but definitely.
That's right. I needed some water. I needed some water. That's all I needed.
Well,
I need people to stop interrupting me. I need people to stop messaging me on my phone, calling me while I'm trying to do a broadcast. I'm broadcasting. I can't do both. I do a lot of things at the same time, but not. They should know I'm on the air. Stop it. All right. Watch the show. It's more interested in listening to you right now. But I'm okay. I'm all right.
No,
I'm all right.
That's the most important thing. I'm glad you're okay. And as we're talking about football, you needed a 2-minute warning. You needed the 2-minute warning.
I need it. And when that ever happens again, all right, you need to take over.
Okay.
You are my protege. You're going to be taking over soon anyway. So you need to take over. When you see that I'm like that, and my doctor watches this show every week. Believe me, she watches this show every week, and she knows why I'm coughing. And you know what? I'm working on it. All right, but I'm okay. Let's move on. Let's look at the NFL Week 7 brief recap, then go into the picks after nobody beats the Wiz. But here's the thing in Week 7, real quick, as I do on Sports with Rich, 6 quarterbacks, less than 200 yards this past week. 19 recorded yardages. A total was fewer than 300 yards, which was an amazing statistic. The Giants, 6-1, their best start in how long was?
Since 2008.
Unbelievable. And it's Saquon Barkley again, Daniel Jones, Barkley's most of their offense, but still, with that record. The Jets are the 5-2 starts. Football winning in the New York area is great right now. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, their age might be catching up to them. We saw that in week 7. The Seahawks with Geno Smith. No worries about him because the Seahawks are leading the NFC West. Your Bears have overcome so much, and now they're scoring points. Yeah, show them now, Wiz.
Finally,
Good win
the
last
first time.
night.
I was going to say, the first time I saw them score 33 since easily last season, maybe the 2020 season. They looked good, but I'm not confident.
They looked good last night.
I'm not confident because they only play good in the rain. The Niners, week 1, they got the win, and now last night against who they got?
Your Bears,
Patriots.
yeah. The Cardinals, the team I root for, they finally broke out offensively. They scored in the first quarter, which doesn't happen to them. And Joe Burrow, 5th 400-yard game for the Bengals, and that's why the Bengals will win with Joe Burrow. An amazing statistic on that, too, which we'll talk about in a moment. Yeah, the Giants are the first team in NFL history, 6-1 or better, the first 7 games decided by 1 possession. How about that, Wiz?
That's incredible. And it all goes to Brian Dable, and specifically on the players, it's Saquon Barkley. 70-plus rushing yards with 3-plus receptions in his last 3 games. 3-game win
Let's look at his image again. Let's look at let's put Barkley's photo up again, because we're talking about him, and he's an amazing young man who's healthy.
He's the leader in the NFL in scrimmage yards, 906 scrimmage yards. The next guy in that category has 94 yards less. So when you say New York Giants, you think Saquon Barkley.
Now, the Jets, after their best start since 2010, there's a turnaround going on, whether you like it or not. But they lost the blow. The big blow was their number 1 pick, Breece Hall, gone. But they signed a running back right away, which shows they're in that winning formula. They want to win. James Robinson from the Jaguars, big pickup to replace Hall, big loss for the year.
Yeah, it's a big loss losing Breece Hall. Rookie, he was making a name for himself. He had 4 touchdowns on the season. And to pair that with Michael Carter, that was a lethal duo out of the backfield. Torn ACL with a minor meniscus injury. It reminds you of J.K. Dobbins from a year back. It takes at least 14 to 16 months to recover. So getting James Robinson doesn't just help for this year, next year as well. They'll have to pay him, but nothing to a degree on the contract side. But James Robinson overall, he has 9 catches in 6 games. So he's not just a running back. He can catch out of the backfield. And the Jets traded a 6th-round pick that could turn into a 5th-round pick for him. So at the end of the day, they're buying in as the team is 5-2. This is the time that Jets fans are happy that they're finally buying into a good team.
And Seahawks fans are buying into Geno Smith. They thought Russell Wilson leaving, that was going to give them heart, whatever, was going to give them all types of issues. No, Russell Wilson's not doing it in Denver. Geno Smith has become a leading quarterback in the league. What do you make of that? NFC West, they lead the West.
Who would have thought of that, honestly? The guy is a league go-getter for the comeback player of the year. 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions on the season, 244 passing yards per game. Like you said before, they're leading the NFC West. Going into this season, we thought the NFC West was going to be the juggernaut like last year, but it's not the case this year with Geno Smith leading the Seahawks. That's going to be an interesting tale down in the second half to see if they can make that, win the division or make the wild card, because trading Russell Wilson just about 4 months ago and to getting Geno Smith, huge progress if you're making the playoffs in that first year.
Incredible, as they say, especially in the NFL. And then the 2 aging quarterbacks, maybe on their last legs, Brady and Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, very interesting, Wiz. 3rd loss in a row, this time to Washington. The Packers have the longest losing streak now since 2018. And Brady and the Bucs under 500, losing to the Panthers. That is the longest Brady has been under 500 in 2 decades. Time for him to go. They lost to the Panthers, and the Panthers are horrible, too. They've lost 12 of their last 13, too. So how do you explain what's going on? I know what it is. When you get older, your skills diminish, especially in the NFL, which can be brutal. but it's showing week after week. And then Brady's blaming his offensive line and complaining about this and that. Aaron Rodgers really has nothing to say. The thing to say with both these guys is time to go. Brady has said he's always going to continue next year.
Yeah, it's been a tough, difficult season for Tom Brady. 7 weeks into it already. Both quarterbacks with 3-4 records, and they combined for 24 points, the Packers and Buccaneers, against bottom-tier teams in the Commanders and Panthers. That's unacceptable. The two comparisons I see with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers so far, Brady, the age has definitely played a factor into his skill set this year. Terrible line play, injuries here and there with the wide receivers especially. They signed, I forgot the name, but they had Scotty Miller from last year. And Cole Beasley they signed, and it was no production from the beginning. And on the other side, Aaron Rodgers, they didn't set him up to succeed. They let Devontae Adams go, and now you're seeing the progress with young rookie receivers. They don't know what to work with Rodgers, especially with the O-line as well.
Two aging quarterbacks with so many young good ones in the league. We'll see what they do in week 8, which you guys will talk about in a moment. And Tua back on the field for the Dolphins. The concussion protocols all straightened out. The NFL, they screwed that one up bad, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Tua is back in the win column. They get the win over the Steelers.
Yeah, big win for Miami. They were 0-3 without him this season. And obviously, for most important thing, I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's back on the field playing at 100%, because that's the most important thing, as I just said. But just for the fans, not even Dolphin fans, you want all the starting quarterbacks healthy throughout the whole season, and I'm happy Tua is back. 261 passing yards on the game, one touchdown, and 15 rushing yards. So we'll see Tua be Tua week by week.
Of course, the Eagles are still undefeated. Dallas got a win. And all of a sudden, the NFL East, the Eastern Conference, is a 3-team division, which used to be the NFL least division. And what are your thoughts about how the Cowboys and Eagles are approaching the Giants right now? And how do you look at the Giants as they move forward now in the next coming weeks with a tougher schedule?
So far, I like what I see out of the Giants. They're built like a team, and you see it. They're playing for one another. They're having fun. It's one thing to get wins, compare the wins week on week, but they're having fun. You see the energy. You see the fan base. They're invested into this team compared to the past regimes. And for Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen to have that in the first 7 weeks, they're in the good path of success throughout this NFL season. And obviously, the schedule is going to get more difficult, but let's see how it goes. Dallas, Eagles in that stretch, split with that 2-2. They're already at 6-1, 8-3 right there.
And again, that stat really blows my mind. Was 6-1, first 7 games decided by one possession. That blows my mind. I can't remember that happening. I don't know when that happened last.
That
just blows my mind.
That's a combination of great coaching, great leadership by the players, and the right play calls. The guys are making the right plays at the right time.
All right, Wiz, we're going to go into week 8 in a moment, but after the break. But first, it's that time of the week. Let's break it up. And your favorite time. I love it. Sometimes you don't like it. It's too bad. I'll do it. But you love Nobody Beats the Wiz.
It's
because
always,
I have to
always
challenge
good time.
him. I always have to challenge him, yes or no, the lion there in the middle. The music is coming up. It's Nobody Beats the Wiz, yes or no. I ask him some questions. He gives his brief opinion. Some questions he doesn't like, some of the things, but here we go. All right, Wiz, you ready? All right. The Major League Baseball season coverage has been long hours for us and a lot of the media in between the rain delays, and we saw a lot of those in New York with the Yankees. I think 3 in the postseason for the Yankees there that got stopped with a sweep in the Astros. The games go on. But, at the end, some of the questions in the post-game press conferences, some of them are just out of texture. Terry Francona and his blood pressure. And why keep asking Aaron Boone, are you coming back next year?
Aaron Judge.
If one thing you've learned, Aaron Judge, even Boone, same question. I don't want to fault my colleagues, but come on. Wiz, you've experienced it for the first time. What do you think of these long, drawn-out post-game press conferences in the MLB postseason? Do you like them, yes or no?
Yeah, no, I definitely like them. I feel like they're required because it feeds the player's knowledge to the fan base, what he's thinking in that moment. But like you said, there's a lot of stupid questions, and I'll lead you to one. It was during Padres Mets. Someone asked Juan Soto about the season Aaron Judge had before Game 1 of the National League wild card as the Padres go up against Max Scherzer. So the questions, just you guys got to be more organized and just think before you speak. Come on now.
Oh, I've been saying that a long time. Sometimes I just sit there, I don't go. When I sit there, I keep my mouth shut. Or I don't go. Or whatever. Good point. Yes or no, nobody beats the Wiz? You be the general manager right now. And it's going to be a lot of that. GMs scurrying around the lobbies in San Diego at the winter meetings in early December. Aaron Judge looking to get paid a lot of money. The Mets have a lot of issues, a lot of things to address. So do a lot of other teams. You be the GM. How much do you pay Aaron Judge to remain Yankee? That's number one.
I'm
or
not
another team.
Okay. To start off, if I'm a general manager, I'm giving him the biggest contract. I don't want to get fleeced at the last minute. We see that offseason by offseason, but I feel like at least 380 million to 400 million in that range. And right now, I don't think it would be the Yankees that are going to get him. Someone
will give him a bigger contract than Mike Trout. That's for sure.
I think overall it's going to be the Dodgers, the Giants, the Mets, and the Yankees in the long run. I could see the Dodgers lasting in there until the end and give the Yankees a run for the money.
Well, again, as we said earlier, it's going to be the off-season baseball question. Where does Aaron Judge go? Carlos Correa, BDGM, opt out of the Twins. Where do you think he goes and how much? Briefly.
I believe Correa gets at least 150 to 200 million. We saw him get over 100 million for the 3-year deal with the opt-out clause last season. The prices for shortstops are only going to go up as Swanson, Trey Turner, Lindor a few years back. We're just going to see the price tag go up. I don't think he's staying in Minnesota, obviously, with the opt-out. I could see the Braves. If they don't get Swanson and Swanson leaves, we saw Freddie Freeman leave. They get Matt Olson. We could see Carlos Correa be in Atlanta.
Which would make them even stronger than what they are now. But I don't think he's under the Braves. So, yes or no? Nobody beats the Wiz on Be the GM right now with Brandon Nimmo. Talk. Teams want him. Will the Mets pay him? Does he remain a New York Met where he's been since his draft day of 2011?
I think Brandon Nimmo is going to be the odd man out when it comes to free agency with the Mets. I think their focus is going to be Jacob deGrom and Edwin Diaz, and I don't think they're going to re-sign Brandon Nimmo. And honestly, when you look at the outfield free agent market class right now, it's Aaron Judge and Nimmo leading that way. So whatever Judge gets, Nimmo, we're going to see him get paid. We saw Nick Castellanos last offseason, 5 years for $100 million. Expect Nimmo to get at least $80 million.
Oh, all right, Wiz. PM for the day. Like, comment, subscribe at the YouTube here on SLG Network, Rich Mancuso YouTube channel as well. Yes or no? Nobody beats the Wiz on the program. We continue. Your favorite MLB team song, what has been adopted for you, Wiz? Now, we see the Yankees, New York, when they leave the field. In fact, that was playing as the Astros celebrated on their turf on Sunday night, which I found to be very weird. We Are Family, way before your time, with Willie Stargell and the Pirates in their 1970 championship runs. And now the Phillies have come up with Dancing on My Own, a Swedish song. Which one do you like, or do you have one other? Do you like them, yes or no? Do you like that idea?
I like Dancing on My Own. The lyrics do not make sense for a baseball team celebrating the NLCS, but honestly, I like the beat. The whole stadium's bumping to it. And it started last year with the Red Sox and Kyle Schwarber leading it. Kyle Schwarber in the clubhouse was celebrating each round they advanced with that song going off the speaker. And now we see Schwarber in Philly doing the same thing. So you got to love that with celebration.
Do you remember it was the what team was it? The Nationals that did it with the duck. Remember
the Baby Shark?
Baby Shark. That was the Nationals. Remember, everybody they always come up with something. So, manager of the year. Yes or no? Where's Robbie Thompson of the Phillies for what he's done?
Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one. I honestly think Showalter is gonna get more votes than Thompson because Thompson.
Really, that would. If I had a vote, it would be Robbie Thompson.
No, it's a good pick, and I think it's gonna go back and forth. But overall, you saw a 101 win season in his first year with the Mets compared to Robbie Thompson, who took the helm in June. I get it; it's an incredible story. But with these voting, with the voting, we see it's only based on the regular season. If it counted postseason, you bet your butt Rob Thompson is the manager of the year.
All right. Nobody beats the Wiz. We continue on the program. We talked about Tom Brady saying he's not retiring. He's going to play again next year. Rodgers and Brady, two aging quarterbacks. Who retires first, Wiz? Brady or Rodgers or both?
Definitely Tom Brady. I could see Aaron Rodgers staying in the league at least 3 more years. He's coming off the MVP season from last year. It's just come down to the roster construction behind him, I think.
Yes or no? Nobody beats the Wiz, and this is my favorite moment where I can get you on some things. All right? Yes or no? You experienced the baseball season in the press box for the first time this year. You came home with a lot of garbage. That's what I call it, because you get post-game notes and you throw them in your bag. I saw it. You just throw it there. You can't find things. You can find your press credential. That was another story with him this
I was
week.
stressing.
Which scorecard or game or credential did you look at that you had to keep the most? Which one do you value most in your rookie year as this reporter?
In my rookie year, my favorite credential had to be the Cincinnati Reds one when we traveled to Cincy to see the Pittsburgh Pirates and present Vladimir Gutierrez on the field. That's one I'll always remember for the rest of my life. Being on the field pregame, on the scoreboard with you, presenting the award. Hell of an experience, and hopefully we do it again next season.
Oh, hopefully if I'm not retired, which is around the corner for me. Yes or no, Wiz? Here we are, we wrap it up. Now, that press box, a lot of moments, a lot of time. It becomes our second home, especially in the postseason. We're there almost 12 hours. Fans think we go to a game, do what we got to do, and we go home. No. We got a lot of work to do, and we're there a long time. So, I'm notoriously known as the spiller in the press box, especially at Yankee Stadium. When I walk in that press dining room, here's the spiller of coffee. So what do you put up with more with me? Come on, be honest. I'm not going to get aggravated. I get mad fast. I want, is it my spills, my complaints, or my complaining about how tough it's getting to write on deadline? Yes or no?
Probably complaining about the deadline work because we all connect with that. Everyone feels that pressure, and obviously this is my first year, and you've been a great teacher along the way, especially in the postseason where you're telling me 11 o'clock the game ends, you got to have that story out by 1:30 latest.
That's right.
So something like that I wasn't doing back in August, and I appreciate all the help you've been doing with me along the way.
Thank you. Well, you do it well, and soon your hair will go just like mine did. Because it is a lot of pressure. And on that note, that's Nobody Beats the Wiz for this Tuesday edition of Sports with Rich. Let's close it up. Until next week, with Nobody Beats the Wiz on Sports with Rich live on the SLG Network. Me, Rich Mancuso, that's the Wiz, Robert Rizzo, as we fade to black. Now, coming up into this brief break, I'm going to step away for a while, a little bit. I'll be back to close it up. But I'm going to let the Wiz and Avery now handle NFL week number 8. They'll give you their picks, and then you're able to contribute and give your opinion in the bottom of the cube do so. It's there for you. Let the old man take a breather. Let the Wiz and Avery, our great producer behind the scenes, when they come back, they'll have their brief picks, week number 8, and then I'll see you on the side after all that's done. You're watching Sports with Rich live on the SLG Network. Me and Riz, Robert Rizzo, back with NFL picks for week number 8 after this.
The door and keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweat, so scared. Someone get me out of here. They say you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
We are back with Sports with Rich on the SLG Network every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Here we go with our game picks. Oh, the best sports show. Thank you, Joshua Quintana. I just had to shout him out right there. Thank you for the comment. Like, comment, subscribe always on the SLG Network. We're here every Tuesday night. Let's start it off. Avery, how you doing?
Doing great. Rob, how you doing?
Doing good. Appreciate all the work you do behind the scenes.
Hey,
Getting the guests in and out. But
it's all a day's work.
NFL week 8. How does it feel that we're 7 weeks already? It seems like we just started.
I know we're at the halfway point pretty much after this week. It's no technically after next week, but no, football season's been chugging along and there's a lot to talk about.
No, definitely. And Thursday night, it kicks it off. Thursday night football. Ravens at Buccaneers. Spread right now is -2 with a total of 45. I expect this to be a high offensive scoring game. 45 points ain't a lot, and the Buccaneers just scored 3 points. They cannot do that back-to-back weeks. I'm going to take the Buccaneers and the total over 45.
I'm actually going to take the Ravens. It was Buccaneers -2.
It was Ravens -2.
Ravens -2. I'm going to take Ravens -2. I know we would love to see a Tom Brady bounce back after putting up 3 points in an abysmal performance by that offense against Carolina with a XFL quarterback who's starting for the first time in the NFL. But I think the Ravens are going to be too much for them this week.
No, that should be a good matchup. The next one I have zoned in on is Patriots at Jets. Patriots coming off that Monday Night Football loss to the Chicago Bears. That was a rough one to watch. If you're not a Bears fan, I loved every part of it. But right now, Patriots are favored by 2 and with a total of 40.5. I'm actually surprised at this line. Jets playing good, Patriots on the downfall a little with the QB controversy. I'm going to take Jets money line instead of the spread and the cover. And I'm going to ignore the total, but Jets money line for me.
Yeah, I like the Jets in this one as well. I think the Patriots coming off of that embarrassing defeat at home on Monday night, losing by 19 at home. When we saw some light from Bailey Zappi. The fans wanted him so bad he came in. He threw 2 quick touchdowns, and that was it. That was it for the rest of the game. But no, I like the Jets in this one actually.
No, we both agree. Jets win. Cardinals at Vikings for our next game. Right now, Vikings are -4 with a total of 48.5. To start off, Cardinals looked like a brand new team last Thursday. I believe they scored 43 points.
Yeah.
10 days rest now. They're playing on Sunday. I'm going to go with the Cardinals +4 on this. I don't know if Rich will agree with me, but give me his Cardinals.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching the Cardinals games. Two defensive touchdowns to help contribute to that Thursday night win over New Orleans last week. I'll actually be at this one. I'll be at US Bank on Sunday. So catch my article. Just kidding, I don't write.
Great plug-in.
Anyways, no. If I was going to take anything for this game, I definitely would take the over. We saw the Cardinals do that just by themselves last week, and the Vikings offense is clicking, especially with Justin Jets posting almost 100 yards every game.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good one. And I think it's going to be high flying with scoring. Vikings Cardinals, definitely.
I think between Jefferson and Hopkins on either side, it's going to be a fun one.
highlights for sure. My next matchup I'm zoned in on is Pittsburgh Steelers at Philadelphia Eagles. I'm interested right now because the spread is -10. I try to ignore the double-digit spreads, but the total is 44. I'm going to side with the total right now. I'm going to go with the under. I don't like what I've seen out of Pittsburgh so far. And the Eagles, they grab that 20-point, 13-point lead. They might just cushion it till the fourth quarter. So give me the under 44.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to avoid this one personally. The last time we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers have a double-digit deficit against the Bills, against the Bills, they lost by like 29. So I think -10 for Philly is definitely a possibility here. But I think if anything, I'd probably just take Eagles money line and call it a day.
Yeah, that money line's going to be high for sure.
Yeah.
Your New York Giants, 6-1 New York Giants against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Going to be an impactful game for both sides. Geno Smith versus Daniel Jones. Right now, the spread is set at -3 Seattle. Very surprised about that. Off the rip, I'm going to take Giants +3. I like what they're doing. Saquon Barkley, Brian Dable leading the way.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength here. As long as Saquon keeps it going, this Giants offense is going to be fine. They're the focal point. They run it through him. Daniel Jones might as well not be there. They might as well just have Saquon at quarterback. That's how much this team depends on him.
Big time. He's the scrimmage yards rusher across the NFL, top 5 in NFL rushing. And when you look at the offense, it's Saquon Barkley for sure.
Absolutely.
Next matchup, this should be a good one. Rematch of the NFC Championship from last year, San Francisco 49ers at LA Rams. Right now, the spread is -1.5 Niners. Very confused on that part. 43 total. Right now, I'm going to go with the Rams. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be picking the Niners on this one with the Christian McCaffrey hype in that trade last week. But I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they can stop him along with Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I'm really confused on that because even with McCaffrey debuting for San Francisco last week, they still lost. And their offense just didn't seem like they could get it going last week. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe McCaffrey was a bad ad. Maybe there's too many people to spread the ball out to now.
No, that could be a good point, honestly, and something we see down the line because McCaffrey, Kittle, Deebo, that's so many guys to get the ball to along with it. I think he's a system QB that can win in the playoffs, Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the end of the day, a system quarterback. So too many guys to get the ball to. This is going to be a showdown. This was going to be a Super Bowl matchup when we were talking about football back in August. Green Bay Packers at Buffalo Bills, Sunday Night Football. Everyone's going to be tuned into this one. Right now, the spread's -11. Very surprised about that. Buffalo's favored by 11 with a total at 47.5. I'm definitely hammering the over at 47.5, but I might ignore the spread and just go Bills money line. Not good for betting. Obviously, the line's too high, but just the over 47.5 on Sunday Night Football for me.
I like over 47.5 as well. As much as I want the Packers to win, like you said, in August, if we were talking about this could have been a Super Bowl preview, but not anymore. The Packers have been playing abysmal offense. Aaron Rodgers has been sacked 18 times so far this season. The wide receivers aren't wearing gloves apparently because there was a lot of drops last week, and that seems to be the key issue for this offense is drops.
Big time, and that's something we'll see in the second half of the season. It's only getting colder in Wisconsin, as you know. So they're going to need those gloves or big improvements with the receiving core.
Maybe they'll finally start using their running backs that average 4 yards a carry. Just a thought.
That could work this Sunday against Buffalo. Monday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns. The spread right now is Bengals -3.5 with a total at 47. Joe Burrow had one of the games of his life. I say one of because he has so many throughout his career, including college and NFL.
And he's going to have so many more.
I know. It's just starting up. I feel like that first half was something we saw when he was at LSU. But for him to have that stat line, I think he's going to carry it over against Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Myles Garrett still isn't 100%. and that's their focal point on defense. Give me the Bengals money line. Bengals -3.5. Even if it goes up, I'm taking the Bengals spread.
Yeah, I think Bengals spread all the way here. Yeah, it's really hard to bet against the guy who's just come off a 500-yard game.
No, you can't.
No.
Honestly, especially against Cleveland. But
yeah, and with Cincinnati's offensive weapons, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Interesting slate of games. The rest, we got Titans, Texans with a spread with Titans -2 total at 40 right now. I'm going to go with the Texans here, play the upset. Titans right now, they've been playing hot. I see an upset, and I could see them starting off slow, especially in the first half. So give me Texans money line. That would be my upset of the week.
All right. I'm going to have to go against you here. The Texans couldn't do anything against the Colts last week, and the Titans are a better team than they are. So I like what, Titans -2 only?
Yeah, that's confusing on that part. It should be higher.
Yeah, I think it should be higher.
One other game I'm interested in. There's 3 more games to go. Raiders at Saints. Derek Carr versus Jameis Winston. The spread is -2. I was about to say Oakland. -2 Las Vegas, and the total is 49.5. I think there's going to be a lot of rushing touchdowns in this one. Give me the over. Alvin Kamara versus Josh Jacobs, along with Darren Waller, and the wide receiving core in New Orleans, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. They got guys. So definitely give me the over at 49.5.
I like the over as well. Both of these offenses are potent.
For sure.
It's going to be a fun one to watch.
Anything else on the slate that catches you?
I'm not 100%.
My last pick, just to sugarcoat it in there. Justin Jefferson receiving prop touchdown, 2 touchdowns on the day. I'm going to bet that, see what the payout is. Right now, I don't know what it is, but definitely profit off that.
Justin Jefferson anytime, two times anytime.
Yep.
That was last week. We're into week 8. Why am I?
No, that should be a good one with Cardinals Vikings. I expect high scoring.
Yes, I believe it will be also. No, I think the other game that I could look at is maybe Miami at Detroit. Detroit to start off the year was super hot. They were the number 1 scoring offense for the first 6 weeks, and then they ran into the Patriots and have been in a standstill. Meanwhile, Miami, they got Tua back. They haven't really missed a step with him being out, having 2 or 3 different quarterbacks in those 2 weeks. That one should be fun to watch.
Definitely. I'm interested to see how Tua bounces back week 2 after the injury, especially against Jared Goff. High scoring offense. So expect points in that one.
Absolutely.
For sure. Great picks as always. Hopefully we go positive this week. I haven't been keeping track, but a lot of my bets aren't winning bets. We're going to change it this week for sure.
Let's do it.
We're going to have Rich back on the other side. We're closing out the show. Always like, comment, and subscribe in the Cube. Always on the SLG Network, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Sports with Rich. Back after this.
Spending money like it's nothing. I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo while dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been gone. Rich is stacking to the ceiling. I'm dick long. Could never change the side I've been on. In 100 years, I'ma still be with my day ones. When it's said and done, fuck where I'm going, it's all about where I came from. You don't know.
All right, back with Sports with Rich. We're after 10 p.m. as always. Let me just get mic'd up again over here. I was listening in. We tried something different this week, and I thought it went well with you and Avery making the picks because I'm horrible at that.
You're not horrible
Good
at
job.
it. We're just in the know with the betting, and me and Avery could talk bets all day. And
I know.
I
saw that. And good job. Good job.
Thank you. But at the end, when I uttered random words, I apologize. That was just me.
Well, you're still learning, but doing a good job, Wiz. Thank you.
A nice
think
blooper
we
reel.
might make that we might do that as we move on week by week. Segment moves faster. I'm going a lot on comments from some of our viewers, and also what you and I feel how to make the show even more. I think we do a good job every week. I don't hear any major complaints at all. We want you to like, comment, and subscribe at Sports with Rich on the SLG network, as well as on my channel, Rich Mancuso, on YouTube. We'd like to see that. That the more the better. And believe me, it doesn't mean another penny in our pocket. And I'm going to be straight out and tell everyone right out. The Wiz and I do not make a penny off this show. We don't get paid to do it. Our sponsors are there. It's locked in. And we're working on sponsorship. We're working on a lot of things to make the show bigger and better than where it's at right now. Watch-alongs maybe along the way, maybe as of next week. We'll see where we're at. But we're doing the best we can. And those who keep watching and supporting us, we thank you. Just like, comment, and subscribe as we move on and wrap this thing up this week with some still odds and ends to do, including college football, Wiz, another week. And, they're getting closing in more and more. Unbelievable. October is coming to an end, and we're looking at that college four, the final four college bowl series. And let's take a look. AP the top three this week: Georgia, Ohio State, and Tennessee. But LSU, where do they stand in all this?
LSU still stands unranked. They pulled off the massive upset against 7 Ole Miss in LSU, 45-20. It was a massive blowout. As we see with that photo, the stadium was packed. It was loud all 4 quarters. Approximately 100,821 fans in attendance. That's incredible. Another rush on the field. I'm a fan of it. You don't like it, but that's college football.
I don't like fans swarming on the field, but I love college football. I think it's a more exciting game than the NFL. Let's clarify that.
That was my point. The swarming on the field. That's what the LSU fans did.
Because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's more dangerous than the idiots that run. And we saw that again in the Astros. Was it in Houston? Yeah. The Astros-Yankees game 1 where an idiot decided to run on the field. Where did it get him? Handcuffed, and he sends it in jail, and he's banned from going to the ballpark in the country. That's But then again, that epitomizes where we are as society today. That's another story. All right, so Georgia looking good. Ohio State, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson's in there. It's going to get to the nitty-gritty soon in college football. And we'll talk Fordham University next week. Saturday, they're up at Rose Hill. We'll talk more about that next week. Their Patriot League lead still holds, and they had a bye week, and now they play Lehigh coming up Saturday, I believe, up at Rose Hill, which could decide the conference. All right. MLS. Yeah, that is a huge game at up at Rose Hill. MLS, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals again. NYCFC, and they will play Philly for the final of the Eastern Conference. Winner there goes to the MLS Cup. Similar to last year, NYC had the 3rd seed, same as this year. Similar to last year, they played Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals. They won it because Philadelphia, the Union, as they're called down there, they were injured. So they had a depleted roster. Like they played with men short. But NYC doesn't take that as an excuse. They're on a 6-game winning streak. New coach Nick Cushing has his team playing defense, different alignments on offense. In the pit, they are running and aligning themselves to score. They beat a good team, Biz, to get to the final, Eastern Conference Final over the weekend. They defeated Montreal up in Montreal. And they've outscored opponents 6-1 now in their postseason. So there is a winning team here in the New York area, and it's MLS. It's NYCFC.
That's a monumental win for NYCFC. Just to begin, Nick Cushing's first playoff win as head coach. It was another head coach last season. Obviously, we saw Valentin Castellanos off the team. Big playoff win without their main superstar. He left in July. In the 5-game winning streak that you mentioned, 10 goals scored, 3 goals allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And when that
without Castellanos.
That's the playoff recipe right there. 10 goals scored, 3 allowed. Offense working on all cylinders. And with this last matchup, zone in on Philadelphia and NYCFC, Philly won 2-1. I believe it was back in June. Expect high-scoring game, top 6 in goals this season, NYCFC and the Union.
You know what? Similar to last year, they've got momentum with a new coach who will eventually be named their new head coach for the long run, as well as getting different scoring opportunities for Haber. It's working. They know how to keep the net, keep people away from the net. Sean Johnson still in the keeper and playing their best football, as they call it, of the season at the right time, on their way to maybe defending cup. You know, Wiz, if they win this game, knock off the number 1 seed, NYCFC has an outside chance of hosting the MLS Cup at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, their home turf.
That would be huge. That would be incredible for the fan base. Just because if it's a home game at Yankee Stadium, you know the fans are going to show out. They've had the difficulties of traveling to Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, Jersey, Red Bull Arena. That's one of the most loyal fan base in sports, but many don't realize it.
Right. All right, switch gears. We go to the NBA again briefly. The Nets, we talked earlier, but now they're getting Irving, Durant, and Simmons together on the court at this time, and this is a winning formula. Seems to be working. Your thoughts?
So far, so good. 1-2 record. I see the improvements game by game. Right now, they're having defensive issues, and that will adjust throughout the season. More practice time together with Simmons on the court with Kyrie and KD. And KD and Kyrie, they were signed for their offense. KD's averaging 32 a game, Kyrie 27.3. That duo right there, that's your winning formula for Brooklyn. Meanwhile, they have 4+ assists in each game. Next, the road ahead is tough for Brooklyn. Bucks, Mavs, Pacers, back-to-backs. That's a tough matchup. That's a tough week.
Way too early, though, to determine where they're headed, or any team in the NBA right now. It's just too early. They just started. They were a weekend with a long way to go to April. But this team, the Lakers, showing nothing right now. No offense. What's with the Lakers and Ron, Wiz?
Right now, the Lakers are struggling at the 3-ball. They cannot hit a 3 if you banked it, honestly. I believe they're averaging 23% as a team right now. It's one of the lowest in NBA history, but that's the roster construction. It's LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook with a bunch of guys that aren't proven, in my opinion. Thomas Bryant, he's a great addition for a winning team that's in that win now mode, but right now it's not looking good for the Lakers. I think 7-8 seed at best. A long season to go for sure.
And the Philadelphia, they're crying about the Sixers, who are not off to a good start. That great championship town in sports right now. The Pelicans got a good break because Zion Williamson had the hip conclusion the other night, but he's back in there tonight, from what I understand. He's a key to them for the Pelicans. So we'll look at that one. And more NBA talk next week, Wiz. Good job. All right. We talk about press boxes and all that, and rain delays, which I hate. And boy, do we sit through rain delays this postseason in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. Ridiculous. I mean, I remember sitting in rain delays for the All-Star game a few years ago in Washington at Nats Park. It went on and on until they decided to play the game late and in postseason. But this seemed like an eternity this October. Yankee Stadium rain delays before the game. The top ones are coming off. Fans are in the park, then they're buying all they can of concessions. Finally, you get the late start. We get home 2-3 in the morning. And then food service closes down after a certain time. But my friend Lisa in the Yankees press dining room knew what I wanted. Fresh out of the oven. I showed it on my social media. Here it is. A great ballpark pretzel. Avery, put that pretzel up. No, doesn't that look good? And, it has a face of someone. I don't know who. But boy, when that went in my mouth, you saw me eat it. It went down fast. It went down fast. Compliments to Lisa and Legends over at Yankee Stadium for doing that. I gave them a plug. Maybe they'll sponsor. All right. The MLB season winds down. World Series begins Friday night. There was a poll that came out a few days ago about favorite ballparks in Major League Baseball. Wiz, you and I discussed this a couple of months ago. What were your favorite parks? Just listen to this and let me know what you know. We'll get to that in a moment. Take that down, Avery, because we're going to talk about that in a moment, why that picture went up. Mr. Cortez, or was that? We'll talk about that. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, number 1. Wrigley Field, number 2. T-Mobile Park in Seattle, 3. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, 4. Yankee Stadium came in 5th. Comerica Park in Detroit, 6th. Fenway Park, the old park up in Boston, 7th. Miller Park in Milwaukee came in 8th. Great American Ballpark that we experienced this summer that we love, that came in 9th. I think it should have been up further. 10th was Chase Field in Arizona, which is a beautiful park. I love it there. Angel Stadium, number 11 in Anaheim, which I don't think so. Shouldn't even be in there. And number 12 was Trop Field, came in last. The dump, as I call it, in St. Petersburg, Florida, with a good team. No one goes there, but they came in 12th. What do you think?
It's a touchy list. You could pick and choose here and there. Right now, I'd say my favorite ballpark's got to be Wrigley or Fenway. Obviously, I'm not going to pick a New York one. I'm there all the time. Fenway, Wrigley, and the one I want to go to, we're scheduled to go to next season, PNC Park in Pittsburgh. I gotta get there.
And it's on the docket for next year for you. I've been to all 3. And so you go to Wrigley, and especially you go to Fenway, you're going to feel that ambience of the old ballpark. You're going to love it. And PNC Park in Pittsburgh, you can't ask for a better scenery than that. Just wish, you see those teams do better there. Fan bases want that. And I think next year the Red Sox will go from this losing season again, work on it in the offseason, and become be part of that Eastern Division with the Yankees again next year. All right, Wiz, coming down to the end here, and I want to thank once again Howie Carpenter for coming on the program tonight, doing a great job. Ray, Off the Ropes podcast here on the SLG Network with Keep It in the Ring and the Wrestling. And also to all of you who keep supporting and watching us every week, like, comment, and subscribe. Go to our social media at the bottom. And before we get to the fact of the week answer, which I'll do in a moment, remember to get us on social media. Ring 786 at Twitter, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe on the SLG Network and Mike's channel on YouTube, Rich Mancuso. Also at Latinosports.com and NewYorkSportsDay.com. Come to the sites I write for. Wiz, repeat where they can reach you and how do they read your great content?
Follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994, Instagram, RRizzo4, Facebook, Robert Rizzo, and always catch my daily content on Latino Sports.
All right, Avery, let's bring you in one more time. Let's get this fact of the week answer. No one seemed to have gotten it tonight or came in to try and get the answer. You two tried earlier in the program. You failed. Or Avery, you did come close. And Avery, thanks again. Great producing job as always behind the scenes, as well as those football picks with the Wiz. I thought that went real well. Just the two of you, and it's up the old man out of the picture. That's okay. I accept it. That's what I wanted, and it went well. All right. Fact of the week this week was Clayton Kershaw, the 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Remember, it's a fact, not trivia. To break the Cy Young Award record, a pitcher was 511 wins. Was the Cy Young Award who did that? A pitcher back then, 511 wins. How many more years more do you think Clayton Kershaw can get 511 wins as a Cy Young Award winner as he is? How many more years do you think Clayton Kershaw, as a fact, can get 511 wins? Now, you remember, Wiz, you tried, you were way off. I'll give you another shot. Avery, you were close. You were close. My hint. How many years? Well, if you look at Kershaw's age now, which means he would be 68 years old if he did that, and that's not happening. We know that. Unless it's an old-timers Major League Baseball league. Old-timers. Wiz, you want another shot at it? Then I'll give Avery. Just think. Do your math. You can get it, maybe.
I'm going to go...
How many years would he have to pitch?
At the age, he would have to be 52. So he's 37 right now. 15 more years?
No. No. Avery, you were close. Wiz is bad in math. He's bad in math. We could tell. He's bad as me. Avery, you had what before?
Did I have before? I
don't
think I
remember.
said
I
he.
didn't write it down.
No, I didn't write it down. I think I had to. I think I said he had to play until he was like 55.
And it says here that he'd be 68. This is a crazy fact of the week that I got this week. I mean, it's crazy.
I think he'll have to play for like 27 more years to get to 500.
You were closer than that before. The answer, guys, 41 years, 41 more years.
41 more.
Sheesh.
That would be Clayton Kershaw to get 511 wins. He'd have to play at least 41 more years, which I don't know if that's really true. But we got to do the math. But my facts of the week are weird, and I got that from where I get my facts of the week. I don't believe me, guys. I don't make this stuff up. I don't make it up.
Yeah.
No.
I pulled up Clayton Kershaw's stats, and in the 12 seasons that he's played already, he only has 197 wins.
So it makes sense then.
200.
Yes,
Wow,
you would
right.
have
So
to at least double that, and then take into account that he'd be over 60 by the time it would happen.
Right. So they projected 68 years old, which is not happening. Regardless, he's a Hall of Famer, I think. Will he be? They're not 300 wins. Wonder if
No,
he'll be a
he'll-
Hall of Famer when he decides.
I think he's a
You
lock
know?
for Cooperstown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't really think
I
it's
think
up for
so.
debate.
Get my vote. All right, Avery, we're going to wrap it up with sad news. Thanks for joining us, Avery. We'll see you next week on Sports with Rich. Great job as always, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right. He's so good, Wiz. He puts up with us. He puts a lot of work behind the scenes. He gives up his Tuesday nights or Wednesday night whenever we're on. He's a good Samaritan, good guy. And we're going to meet him sooner or later in Milwaukee when we ever get there. Thanks, Avery. All right, Wiz, we're going to wrap this up with some sad news, and you know what I'm getting at. And I hate wrapping shows up this way. And it's a good friend and colleague that we both know with Latino sports who suddenly passed away the other day. And we're really taken back by this. You know, Dr. Dan he was known. Dan Busadov was a great photographer along with Bill Menzel for Latinosports.com. There is one of his lasting photos at Yankee Stadium just a couple of nights ago. That's Loizager. Is that Loizager that he took?
Yeah, that's Eliza.
Yeah. All right. Now, Dan Busadov was a dentist by trade. That's what he did. And good at that craft as well. And then went to the transition as he still did his dentistry practice as a sports photographer with Latino sports that we're involved with. Got to know each other over the last few years. And he was an avid outdoorsman. Kept himself in shape at 72 years old, not a medical problem at all. Avid bicyclist, outdoorsman, traveled the world, did some rowboating. I think he was on the rowboats with, or whatever. He was an active, physical, and good shape man for his age, as well as excellent at his craft as a sports photographer. Suddenly passed away. We got the news shocking as he was biking his usual 3-day-a-week miles with friends over the Mario Cuomo Bridge, the Tappan Zee Bridge in the New York, Westchester County area. All of a sudden, what we hear is that he just lost control of the bike, collapsed, and that was it. Never had a chance. And it goes to show you, as I tell you all the time, we need to appreciate where we are, what we do, and all the time show our love to our family and our good friends as you've become since February, March with me. Dan was a great individual. Dan had everybody in his soul, in his mind. Dan always asked for people. Dan always went out of his way to make sure I was okay, that you were okay, that Bill Menzel and the whole staff of Latino Sports, even Julio Pobon, was okay. A grandfather, a great husband for over, 40 years, I believe, to his lovely wife and his children, as a great father. And he captured the picture better than all the best in this business over the years. For a guy who did this as a hobby and then went into it as a part of his life, you can't ask for more. For a man, Wiz, that was a gentleman as can be in the world we live in today, you couldn't ask for more. Most of all, he became a friend. Not enough to see him with the time with all of us involved. Became a good friend and a great colleague. I'm going to miss him. And we felt it, Wiz. We really did.
We're definitely going to miss him. It was devastating news for the whole Latino sports team. We wish his family, his friends, Bill Menzel the best right now in their time of need. And we were just talking to Bill the other day, and he mentioned how many times, how many games that Dan would bring up his photos and be like, are these good enough? And every time Bill's like, dude, these are better than mine. These are better than anybody else's. So he had that state of mind all the time. He always wanted to impress others. He wanted to help others. And I only met him back in May. And he's one of those guys always saying hello, always saying, how are you? And I'm going to remember him for all the good times we had at the stadium, although it was one season. Awesome dude. And his story will go on with his photos.
Well said, Wiz. And so we leave you tonight with sad news and lasting memories of Dan Busadov. LatinoSports.com. Latino Sports family mourns his loss. Our condolences to him from Latino Sports, all of us from the SLG family here, and a lot of others that loved him. And rest in peace, my friend. This show is in your memory tonight. Until next week, everyone, stay in touch. I'm Rich Mancuso. Love you all. Stay good to each other. God bless. And as Wiz and I always say,
keep it in the ring.
Keep it in the ring. God bless you, Dan. Rest in peace. Till next week here, Sports with Rich. Thank you all.